Blue skies in Eugene, Oregon. We'll take it for 4 hours and for 4 days, thank you. The oldest of the NCAA championships. This is number 103 coming to you from historic Hayward Field. Hard to find an oval with more stories than this one, and we are ready to add to it because this is the 2025 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. 9 lanes of fierce competition. Here's how it works. 4 days of track and field. Qualifying day for the men, mixed with some field event screams and a 10,000-meter final. Women will do the same tomorrow. Then the finals for the men are on Friday, for the women on Saturday, and both those times the day will end with a trophy presentation to the champ. Welcome everybody to Eugene, Oregon. I am John Anderson. The sun is in the sky, which can only mean one thing. I have my umbrella at the ready. Now that we've shown you the schedule, let's discuss how this thing works, okay? And who are the players? Because what we have here is USC going for a sweep. They're the indoor national champs. If they're going to sweep, they're going to sprint to it, like 2 words, fast dudes. SEC has the next 3 spots. A&M and Arkansas, we don't have to tell you much about them. That's royalty in this sport. But there are some unfamiliar challengers to add spice. South Florida might keep the Florida name on the podium, even as the Gators' 15-year run in the top 4 may end. Boy, what a stretch for Mouse Holloway. New Mexico has 3 guys in 3 events, and believe it or not, that might be enough. And then there's Minnesota, ranked 10th coming in, but they could throw and jump their way to the first title in school history and in Big Ten title history since 1948. And of course, because we've messed up all the conference, USC could be the first Big Ten team since 1948. But none of that can happen unless we start. It means I got to be quiet and I got to throw it upstairs. And by the way, I mean upstairs to Dwight Stones, Dan O'Brien, and Lara Overton. By the way, guys, love the ties. They're awesome.
Hey, John, it's the national championships. Why not? And you said it very, very well, Dan O'Brien. It is really about the sprints for the USC Trojans on the men's side, where the team title is absolutely up for grabs. And with any one of a number of 6 or 7 teams, but USC has got the horses.
Well, they really do, and I think sprinting is going to decide this championship, and there's no better team in the country right now in the sprints than USC. They've got such a big history in the sprinting events, and not only just winning national championships over here, they get a chance to do something a lot of teams don't, and that's put a lot of entries in. 19 USC Trojans are here. They're going to get 17 opportunities to score points. So you see they're going to go on the relay, both relays. They got 5 competitors in the 100 meters, 3 in the 200 meters. Johnny Brackens in the 110-meter hurdles, 400-meter hurdles, and Max Thomas are going to figure prominently in the scoring for USC.
Lara Overton, I have a feeling that you might have a disagreement with regards to the sprints deciding the men's team title. There's a lot of other teams that are in this hunt just because of their distance prowess.
One of those teams, New Mexico. You heard John mention them after qualifying just 1 athlete for last year's championships. They've brought 11 student athletes here to Oregon. And in that lone track final today, the 10,000 meters, they have the top 2 entries. Hoptum Samuel, the defending champion in this event. They also have freshman phenom Ishmael Kip-Karui, and then Matthew Kosgei will look to advance in the men's 3,000 meters steeplechase onto the final on Friday. And one of the other events to watch, what is shaping up to be a historically fast 1,500 when you have the collegiate record holder in this event, Liam Murphy, as well as the indoor mile collegiate record holder, Ethan Strand, as well as a lot of athletes who know how to win at the national championship level.
And we get it started, as always, with the men's sprint relay, the 4x100 meter relay. There are the records. Collegiate record held by LSU from 2 years ago. Meet record by Florida. And collegiate leader, it is South Florida at 38:05. They did that at the regional just a couple of weeks ago. Tennessee, we are looking at in lane number 6. There are their personnel from leadoff to anchor. They will start in lane 6, right outside of them. It will be the Trojans of Southern California. There is their personnel for this first of 3 semifinal heats of this 4x100 meter relay. The top 2 teams across the finish line will automatically advance to Friday's final. Then the next 3 fastest teams that were not auto qualifiers. This meet is essentially today the semifinals. The regionals were the quarterfinals 2 weeks ago. The East in Jacksonville, the West at Texas A&M and College Station. These are the semifinals. The finals will be Friday. There are the lane assignments with Tennessee in 6 and USC in 7.
Well, Tennessee You did not see T-Mars McCallum on that list. He's going to run the open 100 meters and the 200 meters. They're going to try to get through without their fastest 100-meter runner. There's a little bit of a shakeup by Dwayne Ross here from Tennessee, but USC is running all of their best guys, and they welcome back Garrett Kaland, who did not run at the Big Ten Championships.
Off cleanly and very, very close between Tennessee and USC, as well as Florida State in this first leg. And a very good pass by the Trojans. They are ostensibly in the lead as they go for the second handoff, and that is not a great handoff. Tennessee now back in it. It is still USC and Tennessee dominating this first heat. USC passing first. It's the Trojans, or Tennessee, I should say, in 6. The Trojans in 7. These are the top 2 qualifiers. They will automatically advance to Friday. And then in 3rd place, it looks like it could be Cal State Fullerton that got that 3rd place. And they will have to wait to see if their time is fast enough to advance. Remember, the top 3 fastest times that did not automatically qualify will advance. 38:47 for the Volunteers in this first heat. And there is T-Mars McCallum. We didn't give our disclaimer on the rosters that we get for who's running is not necessarily always who we see on the track.
Well, there you see the favorites out there in 6 and 7, and I expect these two teams to really fight for the title. But I got a chance to talk to Dwayne Ross, the head coach at Tennessee, and I said he's ostensibly running the fastest times in the country without this fastest team that he's ever put together. You see Tennessee with the orange armband, and down the back straight they go there on that second leg, but good, efficient handoffs. Tennessee's going to be able to stretch that out on that second exchange there between 2 and 3. That looks like it's Travis now to Eddie Nkadia from USC, but look at T-Mars McCallum. You give T-Mars McCallum one step, Dwight, and he is gone. We saw him run away with the title at the SEC Championships, and here he is doing it again.
So 2 of the favored teams through automatically. Tennessee winning the heat in 38:47, USC safely through in 38:71. It was Arkansas Pine Bluff that was actually the 3rd place finisher. They will have to wait to see if that time holds up. It took 38:75 to advance to the final last year. So let's take a look at the points that we talk about constantly. And there's a premium for first and second, 10 points for first, 8 points for second, and then by 1s from 3rd to 8th. And as we have always said, those 5th, 6th place, 7th place points can oftentimes make the difference between national champion and runner-up on finals day. As we move along to the second of these 3 semifinal heats, this heat featuring the Razorbacks of Arkansas. They will start out of lane number 5. They last won this event back in 2015. 10 years it's been since they have won. But you will see that man, Jordan Anthony, a lot today. He's in this relay, of course, and also entered in the 100 and 200 meters. The outstanding football star for the Razorbacks has really made an impression in this 2025 season on the track as well, just getting better and better week by week.
Well, we've seen him in a lot of different videos over the last couple of weeks. He's really caught fire on social media. And there we see Connor Washington. He's also listed in the 100 meters open. He'll lead off for this Arkansas team, but it's interesting, Dwight, you say it's been 10 years. But you go back to the 10 years, and it's Jerry and Lawson, Kenzo Cotton, Omar McLeod on that squad, and it shouldn't surprise us considering what those guys were able to do as post-collegiate athletes. There you see Kevin Bello. He'll go on that 3rd leg there for Arkansas.
And right outside of them in lane 6, really the surprise of this 2025 season, the collegiate leaders in the 4x100 meter relay, South Florida. The Bulls have a lot of sprinters as well and other athletes sprinkled throughout the program, and if everything goes their way, they could absolutely contend for this team title.
Well, they are outstanding. I love the way that they're wearing the gold today. They're going to be easy to spot, but the sprint coach there, Abiji Eugene, he's done a really good job with this program. And they are going to anchor with one of the fastest guys in the country, Saminu. Abdul Rashid Samina, we'll see him in the 100 meters and the 200 meters. He's got the fastest legal time in the 100 meters this season. He ran a little bit slower than Jordan Anthony, but his time was wind legal. But South Florida, the national leaders out there in lane 6. And don't forget about Minnesota. They could really do something in these championships. They were the Big Ten champs. They beat USC at the Big Ten championships in the 4x100 meters.
So it's Arkansas in 5, South Florida in 6, Minnesota in 7. Only the top 2 finishers can qualify automatically to Friday's final. Arkansas in the maroon and South Florida in the gold. And it's Minnesota running very well on that first leg, but a late pass. Arkansas and South Florida very even going into pass number 2, as is Minnesota. They're all right there, up for grabs this far. South Florida passing first. It's South Florida with Minnesota now in the lead. Minnesota, South Florida takes the lead back over. It's neck and neck. Arkansas is going to be 3rd. South Florida wins it, with Minnesota automatically qualifying in 2nd. And Jordan Anthony's Razorbacks relegated to 3rd place. Now it's a matter of if their time is fast enough to advance with 1 heat remaining. A little bit of a surprise there, 38-12 for the winning Bulls of South Florida.
Well, and I told you to keep a look at Minnesota there. They were out to a tremendous lead there on that first leg, and they really stretched it out. There you see Arkansas and South Florida, but it was Minnesota who did a little bit risky. They got the exchange late in the zone, but it was absolutely perfect. I don't think they could stretch it out any better, but outstanding relay passes there by the South Florida Bulls. And here's where South Florida began to make up a little bit of the cushion there on Minnesota. But how solid is Minnesota all the way around? They don't have a lot of guys here in the sprints, running in the open sprints, but they managed to put together a fantastic 4x1 team, and they challenged the fastest team in the country. That's Abdul Rashid Saminu. He reels in the Minnesota athlete and takes the heat victory. But what strong running there by the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
They're the official results. South Florida, the 400s win over Minnesota. They both qualify to Friday's final. That 38-51 for Arkansas. That's a very strong time. Kentucky may even advance on time. But a little bit of a surprise there with Jordan Anthony not really looking that great on that anchor, Dan. He wasn't picking up and putting them down like I expected to see him do.
Well, you know, it was a real casual run for him. It almost looked like he thought, hey, you know, 3rd place is going to get us through here. And you got to run as fast as you absolutely can on time there. Top 2 finishers only getting through automatically, and I'm not sure he knew that. Otherwise, he might have tried to reel somebody in.
All right, 3rd and final heat, semifinal in this 4x100 meter relay. We're looking at Auburn. They will start out of lane 5. They are the defending champions in the 4x100 meter relay. That's Azim Fahmy, the junior, is their leadoff.
Well, this might be the first time, Dwight, I've ever seen him just wear running shorts, running tights. He always wears the long tights. But this squad is absolutely amazing. Everybody returning from last season. And they are absolutely solid, although they did not run their full team. They did not run their full team at the SEC Championships. They wanted to get ready and prepared for this meet. There's Kendrick Smallwood of Texas. Texas has had an outstanding season. Smallwood, Rutledge, Small, and Butler, and they go with Logan Popelka as an alternate in that group. But there you see the outstanding hurdler who will lead off for the Longhorns. And there's Jaqueline Scott. He's going to have a busy day. He'll run the 110-meter hurdles and the 400-meter hurdles. We may see him on the 4x4 tonight as well for Texas A&M. So he is getting his day started here with the short run in the 4x100 meters. But Texas A&M, they can contend for a team title as well. They did not perform at their very best at the SEC Championships, but they are built here for the championship, for the national championships. It's a little bit differently, but there you see Auburn and Texas, 2 fastest times coming in here into the third heat in the middle of the track. Auburn in the white, Texas in the burnt orange.
Now check this stat. The last team to win back-to-back titles in the 4x100 relay, Houston. Who was their coach at the time? Leroy Burrell. Auburn. Who's their coach? Leroy Burrell. At Houston, he may have had a little help from Carl Lewis, too.
Well, Cameron Burrell, who has since passed, was on both of those squads, and he will certainly be somebody who Leroy will be thinking about this weekend.
Auburn in 5, Texas in 6, Texas A&M in 4. Only 2 can automatically qualify. The bubble is 39.03 right now. You've got to run faster than that if you aren't an automatic qualifier and want to get to Friday. Very even amongst the contending teams on that first leg.
That second leg was Kenyon Sola Ajayi for Auburn, and that was Logan Popelka for Texas, but Ajayi just flew past everybody on the back straight.
It's Auburn definitely leading at this point, with LSU in there as well. It's Auburn and LSU. Those are your automatic qualifiers, with Texas third.
And look at that time. Oh, my goodness.
That ties the meet record, 37.97 in the semifinal. The defending champions are serious about repeating.
Well, I think the Auburn Tigers as well is one of those teams that if they hit on all cylinders, if they do everything they absolutely need to do over the next couple of days, they could find themselves fighting for a national team title as well. But that's Maka Chiramba, the 200-meter specialist. He anchors it for the Auburn Tigers. And what a season they certainly have had. And no surprise at the SEC standouts of that heat.
That's the third fastest time ever run by a collegiate team. There are your qualifiers. It took 38.70 this year, 38.75 last year. Those are the teams that will contend for the title on Friday. All right, we go from the relays and speed to middle distance. It's the men's 1,500-meter semifinals when we return to Eugene. We're back in Eugene, Oregon for the first of 2 semifinal heats in the men's 1,500 meters. There are the records. Liam Murphy, the collegiate record holder, is in this first heat. Sydney Marie, the meet record holder from 44 years ago. There is Abel Tefra, the senior from Georgetown, number 6 on the all-time collegiate list.
And given the depth of talent in this field, it would not surprise me, Dwight, if we see that meet record fall by the end of the weekend. Abel Tefra is one of those who's not only run incredibly fast times, but indoors showcased just how tactically savvy he is when he had that fantastic finishing kick to beat Nathan Green of Washington to win that NCAA championship. He now has had a little bit of a target on his back. Now people have seen what he's capable of doing. So he will certainly want to be very strategic in how he navigates these rounds. There is your collegiate record holder, Liam Murphy from Villanova, really coming in sharp and well executed into this championship meet. His coach, Marcus O'Sullivan, said that he really just needs that one more piece of the puzzle. He's one of those who's been in the mix at the national championship meets. He is hungry to capture now a national title, and he has a fantastic field that he'll have to navigate to put himself in position to do so. Nathan Green from Washington, the Huskies have been dominant in the 1500. Green was part of that three-peat for the Washington program, winning this title just 2 years ago. His teammate Joe Wascom won in 22, and then last year in 25, as they went 3 straight men's outdoor 1500-meter titles.
Murphy's collegiate record, 3:33.02. Qualification to the Friday final is the top 5 finishers in each of these 2 semifinal heats, and then the 2 fastest times over the 2 heats. They want a 12-person final, so basically cutting the field coming in half.
And just given how talented this field is, really no one can take these qualifying rounds casually whatsoever. Worth noting as well, one of those to watch in the mix is Virginia's Gary Martin, who had an incredible anchor leg at the Indoor National Championships to capture the distance medley relay title.
Well, it is pedestrian pace with Liam Murphy up front on the outside of lane number 1.
Well, in talking with Liam Murphy's coach, Marcus O'Sullivan, he said that that collegiate record that you referenced really came as a huge surprise when he ran that, because they put in a ton of aerobic training coming off of the indoor season. So he was very fit indoors, but they really went back to that aerobic base. Didn't forecast that he'd be able to run that fast of a time when he did, but shows that level of athletic ability that Liam Murphy has that is so special.
69-second first 400 meters. So this race has definitely turned tactical. The ones in this field with the best foot speed are going to be the most likely qualifiers, as we see Tefra now moving up on the outside, but the pace is so slow that the athletes have got to push out into lane 2 in order to have room to run.
Some of those with great closing kicks. Certainly Nathan Green has that. Abel Tefra has that. Going back to the indoor track season, Nathan Green helped lead 9 Huskies to run sub 4-minute miles. Oh, you kind of see a little change up there. You see Jack Kroll sneaking in on the rail. Going back to Nathan Green, when he ran 3:50 indoors, he said that had he listened to Coach Andy Powell and dipped at the line, he may have even gotten to 3:49. That's just how confident he is in his ability. Worth noting as well, hey, we talk about distances. You can't talk distance without noting NAU. Colin Salmon right up there into the mix of it. He's one who is well experienced in championship races. He was 4th in this event just last year.
70-second second lap as they now clearly are picking it up. Tefra all the way out in lane 3 to stay out in trouble. Now he goes into lane number 2 and is getting into a position to make moves that he clearly will have to make as this race now has sped up significantly.
Even as that turnover has gotten more rapid, look at how relaxed Tefra continues to be. That's what you saw at the indoor championships too. He's a very even keel type of runner, really navigates different race situations incredibly well.
At the bell is going to be Nathan Green of Washington, carrying the Huskies' reputation into this race. Liam Murphy is there. Jack Kroll there on the rail from Bradley. Everybody is in it.
He had that really savvy move. Rather than going way to the outside like you saw some other guys do, he saw that window of opportunity and snuck in on the rail to the inside of Nathan Green. 56 seconds, and here's a charging Gary Martin on the outside.
Third lap in 56 seconds. That's why you can see that the pace has really ramped up. Tefra now getting into qualifying position. Remember, it's the top 5 finishers who automatically qualify to Friday's final. Jack Kroll still leading and all out. It's Kroll, Green, McFarland. Murphy is going to have to really push to get into that top 5. And with that slow pace, he is not a guaranteed finalist. You got to consider this a bit of an upset. Jack Kroll of Bradley, the senior, wins the heat and automatically qualifies. The collegiate record holder finishes 7th and has to wait to see if his time holds up.
Jack Kroll in his NCAA debut runs like a championship veteran. So efficient in how he did that, found an opportunity on the inside rather than trying to bounce his way through the outside lanes and navigate through traffic.
Turns out that Liam Murphy was 8th. It doesn't matter how fast he ran. He does not qualify to the final.
Here's how that race shaped up at the finish. Colin Salmon closing ferociously. Abel Tefra trying to dig in and find another gear. Jack Kroll, Nathan Green doing a great job of avoiding any sort of trouble to solidify their positioning. Also Trent McFarland of Michigan with a fantastic run.
Check that. Murphy was 6th, so he does have a chance. Tefra completely out of it. There are the official results. Slow times because of the slow first 2 laps. But Liam Murphy in 6th place. The collegiate record holder has to hope 3:52.44 is one of the top 2 fastest times over these 2 heats. This is going to be nervous time for him for the next 5 or so minutes as we get ready for that second semifinal. which features Ethan Strand of North Carolina, who's number 2 on the all-time collegiate list.
Nathan Strand, the NCAA indoor 3,000 meter champion. He also holds the collegiate record both in that event, the 3,000 and the mile, the first to hold both those records simultaneously. He has said coming in to this year, the biggest stress for someone who wants to run pro is to win an NCAA title, prove you know how to win and not just run fast. He has certainly showed that when you go back to the indoor season. Adam Spencer, the Olympian from Wisconsin, certainly one to watch, has run 3:31.81. That was 2 years ago in a Diamond League event. Represented Australia in the Paris Olympics as well, also the Australian 1,500 meter national champion. And when you talk about gutsy runners, certainly Cooper Cothra is one of those to put in the conversation. SEC outdoor 1,500 meter runner-up, also a big part of Texas A&M's indoor team championship from earlier this year.
So they call them back up. Want to make sure that their feet are not on the line. As you see the list of competitors, Gavin Spencer of Wisconsin is the top returner. He was 3rd in this event last year.
He's also a 3-time scorer in this event. He's been 8th, he's been 3rd, he's been 3rd. Always one who finds his way right up there into the podium position.
So what Liam Murphy, the collegiate record holder, does not want to see is a quick pace. He is hoping that this goes out slowly and that his time gets him through, but I can tell already that they are running about 60 or 61 pace unless they decide to slow things down.
Well, and in talking to a number of coaches over in the team area, they said Harrison Witt from Princeton is going to be the guy to take it out. He is one of those who's a very strong front runner, likes to take an honest pace and get there up front. So this is what a lot of people expected coming in. Also, Ruben Reyna from Arkansas right there up front alongside SEC colleague Cooper Cothra. And then really, you know, you can't miss Harvey Cram of Montana State, the very tall athlete who elected to run the 1,500. He'd also, though, qualified for the NCAA regional meet in the steeplechase and the 800. He felt like the 1,500 was the best marriage of those different events and the opportunity for him to showcase the strength of steeple and his 800-meter speed as they go through in 62.5, so significantly faster than that first heat.
Harrison Witt continuing to lead the way. You can see Ruben Reyna right there, as well as Cooper Cothra. Conditions probably couldn't be much better. A little bit of wind.
Just saw Cram get tangled up there. That's what happens when you get really bunched up, especially if you have that longer stride. Not sure if he got caught from behind or if he was just behind Cooper Cothra and kind of run into the back of him, but that's one of the things you cannot risk doing. He's going to have to stay out of traffic. Adam Spencer doing a great job of navigating right now. This is what you would expect from someone who is so experienced, not only in NCAA championships, but has that world-class experience of competing at the Olympic Games.
It's about 73 degrees here in Eugene with a few scattered clouds and a little bit of wind. And the forecast for the next 4 days is outstanding for track and field. We really got lucky, no rain in the forecast, and mild temperatures for these athletes all the way from the sprints to the long distances.
Very consistent through the first 800 meters, another 62.5 for this field. Look at how far on the outside Cram has had to move. And Ethan Strand is just really comfortable to get pulled along to this point. Obviously, Ethan Strand really comfortable running with teammate Parker Wolf. He's certainly feeling the void of not having Parker Wolf with him at this championship as Wolf is out due to injury. So Strand looking to position himself with 1 lap to go.
Still out into lane 3. There's a lot of run that they want to have. That's Simeon Birnbaum on the Oregon. That's why the crowd's starting to get a little bit excited as he moves into qualifying position. Remember, top 5 across the line automatically qualifying through to Friday's final. Ruben Reyna now in that 5th spot. Strand right on his outside.
And Birnbaum won the Big Ten 5,000 in a furious kick here at Hayward Field. He said at that meet did not want a non-duck winning a single event on this track. Comes in with a lot of pride here at Hayward Field to want to get it done.
Harrison Witt still leading on the rail, but here comes Spencer. Spencer, Birnbaum, Strand. Reyna is being dropped. Remember, top 5, and Strand is now 5th. Looking around to make certain his position is covered. He will qualify easily. 3:41.65 is the winning time, and that puts paid to the hopes of Liam Murphy, the collegiate leader, advancing to Friday's final. He will not make it through on time, but Adam Spencer, who finished 3rd last year, he is in it and looks relaxed.
So did Ethan Strand. Even as he goes into that full sprint, you can just see how relaxed, especially that upper body is. Gets that great quick turnover, but just still can tell there's no forcing it. Birnbaum closing exceptionally well as also, but Adam Spencer did a great job of really taking command of that race and eluding any sort of trouble or any sort of possibility of this race being too slow.
Harrison Witt also did a fine job qualifying, considering he led most of the way. That's usually a death sentence, and he managed it very, very well. As we take a look at the 12 advancers into Friday's final, who you will not see there is the collegiate record holder, Liam Murphy of Villanova, who finished 6th in the first heat, which went out very, very slowly because of him. That's something that just happens at the national championships from time to time. You sometimes outsmart yourself. All right, the 1,500 meters are in the books. And when we come back, barriers and water jumps. 3,000 meter steeplechase semifinals when we return to Eugene. All right, next event on the track. It's 2 semifinal heats of the 3,000 meter steeplechase. Collegiate record is ancient, coming up on 50 years. Henry Rono, who also has the meet record, and Geoffrey Kerwa is the collegiate leader, and he is in this first heat of the steeplechase. But we take a look first at the first of several New Mexico athletes who really could figure prominently in the team title. This is Matthew Kosgei, the freshman.
He has had an incredible first season under Coach Darren Gosson at New Mexico. A really good hurdler, has its great range as well in terms of when you look at 5,000 meter and 10,000 meter and having the opportunities at multiple distances, but great athleticism that he brings over the barriers here into the steeplechase, and well familiar. Oh, here you have, of course, those contenders that they have. This is certainly an event where they need Kosgei to qualify well, but it's later on in the day. The opportunity for Hoptum Samuel and Ishmael Kipkarui, they're looking for 18 points out of that event to position them well into Friday for the day of finals that will determine the national championship team.
Also in this race, Geoffrey Kerwa of Louisville, who has the fastest in-season steeplechase time since Henry Rono back in 1978. He's run 8:13.89, the number 2 collegiate time in history.
And having those athletes like you do, Geoffrey and Matthew, that's part of the reason that many of the coaches are saying this has the potential to be one of the best steeplechase races we have ever seen at the national meet. Victor Kibiego, the champion from the SEC last year in this event.
He was originally at UTEP, now at Texas A&M. 12 athletes, and like the 1,500, the first 5 finishers of each of these semifinals automatically qualify through to Friday's final. Then the next 2 fastest times that were not auto qualifiers. Here are your list of competitors.
Up front, Rob McManus of Montana State. That's a program that has produced great steeplers, so a lot of athletes in this event. But McManus actually missed the final last year at the NCAA meet and said he's really confident coming into this year in his ability at this race, just having more experience He says he's been thinking back to the last 2 national meets when he has not performed the way he's hoped, and that has been his motivation all outdoor season long. As you see Matthew Kosgei darting there up to the front, this is what a lot of people expected, that he would be one who want to make this a more honest pace even in qualifying. They anticipated that the opening few laps would probably be around 64 seconds early on because of that front leading style of Matthew Kosgei.
So Kosgei, along with Kipyego and Kerwa, all Kenyans, and Kenya has an amazing tradition in this event, the steeplechase. And I have to say, Kosgei is one of the better hurdlers I remember seeing in a while from Kenya. So we are underway in this first of 2 semifinal heats. We are going to step away for a moment and come back and show you the finish of this first of 2 semifinals. We are back in Eugene, a little bit past halfway of this first semifinal heat in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. That is Rob McManus of Montana State on the rail and in the lead. Right next to him very closely, we have the lead for quite a few laps, Matthew Kosgei, the freshman from New Mexico. And then Joffrey Kerwa in the all-black of Louisville on the inside of lane number 2, as well as Victor Kipyego, who is moving up.
Kosgei and Kurwa both have excellent hurdle form, and that is where they can start to get some separation over the rest of the field. Kurwa's setback was very conservative on the front half of this race. Happy to let Kosgei go up there and do the work leading. Then Rob McManus took over. Kurwa's coach, Joe Franklin at the University of Louisville, said you can gain a meter on someone at every barrier if you are effective and efficient enough. That's now as we get to this portion of the race where Kurwa will look to try to get some separation. One thing too to factor in, yes, you want to be strategic in these qualifying scenarios. It's very difficult to run 2 steeplechase races over the course of 48 hours. Very rarely do you do that. So being very smart in terms of these races and how you qualify and how you execute pays immense dividends when you get to the final on Thursday. And now you're starting to see Kosgei and Kurwa get great separation over the rest of the field because of the exceptional form that they both have. And the water barrier upcoming will be a great opportunity for both of them to do that. Rob McManus has done a great job of fighting his way right back in it. Also, you can see Kibiego of Texas A&M currently positioning himself in 4th, looking to get pulled along.
So watch this technique over the water jump. Neither one of them push off of the barrier itself. It's Kurwa of Louisville, followed by New Mexico's Matthew Kosgei. Then Rob McManus of Montana State.
And one thing about Kurwa, we're not exactly sure just how good his form is coming in, because after he ran that incredible time earlier this season, they spent time on off events. He actually ran the 10,000 at the conference meet because Joe Franklin said, I need you to lead as long as you can to get used to pressing, to figure out and learn how to be uncomfortable in these off event type of situations. So hasn't done a ton of barrier work, hasn't over raced the steeplechase, so he could be as fresh as possible. So he's even better than he was when he ran that incredible 8:13 early in the outdoor season.
So there are 6 athletes vying for 5 automatic spots. It's Geoffrey Kurwa, Rob McManus, Matthew Kosgei, and down goes, that is McManus, who was the one that did not qualify last year, but he is in 5th place. It's just 5 now. These 5, if they don't fall down or trip over this last barrier, are the automatic qualifiers from this heat.
The close of Christian Imroth from Eastern Kentucky as well. He made incredible moves over the last 200 meters.
He's been lurking back in 6th and 7th, staying out of trouble. There are your 5 qualifiers. And that is Brett Gardner of NC State coming in 6th, hoping that his time will push him through to Friday's final with 1 semifinal heat remaining.
Good to see McManus rebound after that tough water jump to finish in 4th.
By the way,
you can see he kind of slapped his forehead like, oh, what was that? Can't believe that happened. Look at Christian Imroth, though. What an incredible year it has been for him at Eastern Kentucky. They have a great tradition of steeplechase success. Had a big breakthrough winning the Raleigh Relays this year. Taking a look here, you can see that McManus just catches the front part of his toe. It looked like going over the barrier, just didn't get quite enough height over the water jump. Now you can see, look at how casual they are coming around. Imroth, Kurwa, Kosgei, they're like, yeah, happy to let you take it. The one that really matters is in 2 days.
It took 8:33.13 to qualify
Kurwa
last
even
year.
Glancing at his watch.
And they're right around that here. Rob McManus took a nice spill, managed to get his hands out in front of him to break his fall. There are your official results. The top 5 automatically qualifying through, and Nathan Davis of Army, that turns out being, has to wait and see if that time will hold up. Now, time to go over to Dan O'Brien. We do have field events to get you caught up on, and a little bit of a preview of what Minnesota brings to the table on the field event side, Dan.
Well, it's real easy to look at USC and Arkansas and Texas A&M as teams that could win championships, but don't take your eyes off the Minnesota Golden Gophers here. They've got lots of scoring opportunities in the field events. Hakeem Ford, these are the national ranking on the right-hand side there. And there you see 1 and 2 ranked in the hammer, and Minnesota's beginning to deliver as we go over to the men's hammer throw. This is Texas Tanner, the junior from Air Force. This is his 3rd attempt. The Mountain West champ This year, his first time competing at the NCAA championships, and he would bomb one out there in the third round, 246 feet 9 inches, as he gets a fist pound from one of the Minnesota athletes. This is Angelos Metsouras, the sophomore from Minnesota by way of Greece. He was your Big Ten Outdoor Champion in 2024. And he would bomb one here in the fourth round, 252 feet 6 inches for a personal best, and put him in a really good position to win this thing. Here goes his teammate, Kostas Saltos, this senior from Minnesota, also from Greece. This is the fourth round. The number 6 all-time performer in the hammer throw ever, out here in this beautiful hammer throwing facilities, and he would send a bomb 256 feet and 2 inches and go into the lead. This is Tarek Robinson O'Hagan from Ole Miss, your 3-time national shot put champion. He was 7th last year at the Outdoor Championships, and he would get off a good throw in the 5th round. He would throw a personal best, 251.11, but he would be only good enough for 3rd place today. There you see Minnesota, though. They would go 1 and 2, a couple of personal bests. And there you see Kostas Saltos. He said he got 2nd in 2023, the bronze in 2022, the bronze in 2021, and here he is with the victory. And Minnesota, guys, is starting to take their first steps towards a team title.
18 points for the Golden Gophers. They are in it as we get ready for the second of 2 semifinals in the steeplechase. And you were looking at Collins Kipnock, the freshman from Kentucky, SEC steeple champion.
Also the top qualifier from the East Regional coming into this national championship meet last year, 5th in the steeplechase at the African Championships. The Olympian from BYU, James Corrigan, coming off an incredible last year representing the United States in the Olympic Games.
Stand up, please.
Silas Kiptanui from Tulane by way of Kenya, also in this
Make sure your feet are
heat.
behind the
He's
line.
there on the rail, lane 1.
On your marks.
Qualifying same as the 1500. The top 5 finishers automatically qualify through to Friday's final. Then the next 2 fastest times over the 2 semifinal heats that were not automatic qualifiers. They bypassed the water jump on the first go round because it's an inside barrier. And no hurdle on the first straightaway.
Kiprop Kignock likes to get up to the front, avoid any sort of trouble or interference. We saw that at the SEC meet. One of those who likes to really get out and create an honest pace. Also from Furman in the mix right now. That's Carson Williams, the 6-time SoCon champion. 3rd time he is making an appearance at the NCAA outdoor meet. You can see Corrigan in the all blue of BYU. He's on the far outside, way out into lane 3, trying to navigate through a bit of traffic. Carson Williams doing a great job of getting up front. Alongside him is Colorado's Cole Mathieson as they take that first water jump. One thing too, as we get to the next water jump, we'll be able to identify a little bit of kind of the positioning of that water jump and what can make it difficult to navigate as you start to see people get into their rhythm at this point of the race.
All right, we've got an established pace here. And 6 laps remaining in this race. We'll step aside and bring you the end of this race when we return to Eugene. It's the 2025 NCAA Track and Field Championships.
Two-time qualifiers right now, 837.62, 838.09.
The PFL World Tournament rolls on tomorrow in Nashville with the welterweight and featherweight semifinals. Our pre-fight show starts at 8 Eastern on ESPN+, followed by the early card at 8:30. Then the main card is at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific on ESPN, ESPN+, and ESPN Deportes. All right, back to the second semifinal of the men's steeplechase with 3 laps remaining, and this is Josh Ruto, who has really broken this thing open. He has slammed down 3 laps very quickly. Carson Williams of Furman has stayed with him, as has Collins Kiprop-Kitnock, but he's really stretched the field out in this second semifinal.
They've been on about 8:20 pace over the last few laps, and one of those who's moving up really well is James Corrigan of BYU, currently sitting in 5th position. There you can see, he heard that. He obviously wanted to get out there so we could get a clear line of sight over him. You can see as he navigates really well that last barrier right there. En route to qualifying for the Olympic Games here at Hayward Field, lowered his personal best 7 different times. Here's this water jump, taking a look at how everyone navigates that pretty well. Always want to see how well people come out, how quickly they bound out of the water. But really didn't James Corrigan commit to steeple until 2024. Coach Ed Eyestone said he was already a great 5,000 meter runner, and I presented him the idea of running the steeple, and he was like, let me just run fast in the flat events first. Wasn't really sure that he was prepared for everything that the steeplechase entailed, but had the great athleticism. And Coach Eyestone knew that he could be really good at this event, and it proven that he is an Olympic caliber steepler, and you can see just how well impatient he was in navigating his way alongside and through that field. Even when you saw Ruto start to force his pace a little bit, Corrigan patiently bided his time in terms of just very well executed and moved his way up and through the field. As you come here to this water jump right here, one of the things is this is a really harsh turn right there at 200 meters. You don't have a ton of opportunity to ramp up here and gain momentum going into this water barrier. Thanks to our crew for that fantastic shot of it. Sometimes on other tracks where you have the outside water barrier, or you may have a little bit of more distance coming off of the turn to build into it. You don't have that here. It's almost a bit of more of a blind turn when you're coming up. So if you're not prepared for it, that water barrier can kind of sneak up on you. So it really bodes well for those who are experienced in racing here at Hayward Field. Carson Williams has been incredible over these last few laps.
Carson Williams having a lifetime best type of race, now leading after Joash Ruto for 3 or 4 laps pushed the pace relentlessly. It's Williams, Ruto, Corrigan, Kiprop, Kidnyak, and Tanui. Those are your top 5. Those are the 5 automatic qualifiers if they were to finish right here. And there's a big gap back to 6th place with CJ Singleton and Bismarck Kipchirchir trying to chase into that top 5, but that's a lot of real estate to make up this late in the race. Everybody clean over that last water jump. 1 barrier remaining. Those are your top 5, and this has been a much faster semifinal heat than was heat 1. Here is Ruto back into the lead. He really is responsible for making this into a very, very quick semifinal. They are going to finish it around 8:20. No need to do that, but he did it anyway. 8:22 high. Carson Williams with a lifetime best. He came in at 8:27. Ruto at 8:25, so he gets a lifetime best. And likely 6th and 7th place in this semifinal will be our time qualifiers, as this race went much more quickly than did semifinal number 1.
You like the way that Corrigan and Kiprop navigated through that in terms of really never spent any time up in the lead. They were more than content to settle in and let Ruto do most of the work there up front. I thought Carson Williams ran really well, ran very confidently in that field. You could see the embrace between the competitors there. Such a grueling qualifying heat, and you got to do it all again in 48 hours, Dwight.
Here are your advancers to final, 12 in total. And the Oregon steeplechaser, much to the delight of the crowd, got a time qualifier in that 2nd semifinal race. So Benjamin Balazs will also be in the final in front of this Hayward Field crowd on Friday. Okay, we change to hurdles that will actually be knocked over from time to time. The men's 110 hurdles, 3 semifinal heats when we return to Eugene. We're back in Eugene. Let's take a look at the decathlon schedule. Remember, it's the first day men's semifinals, and today in the decathlon, the 100, the long jump, shot put, high jump, and then we will see the 400 meters, the final event of day 1, later on live. Let's go over to Dan, who knows a little bit about this event, for an update.
Well, the decathletes couldn't ask for better weather here to contest the decathlon. It all starts with 100 meters, and there's Peyton Bear, the number 2 ranked decathlete in the country. He's outstanding hurdler. He's your indoor heptathlon champion. He'd love to get the double here. He was 2nd at Outdoors Championship last year. Here's Till Steinforth, the number 1 decathlete in the country. Winner of the Drake Relays. He took down Kip Janfrin's decathlon record earlier this season. But there you see Peyton Bear from Minnesota State, the junior, flying away from this field. This is section 3. They put all the fast guys in the final section. But there you see just a little bit of movement there to start that. Looked like he moved his head, but not his feet. But look at Peyton Bear here go 10:25 for 1,035 points, and he would disintegrate the former collegiate decathlon 100-meter record. Personal best for him, and he would be off and running in the first event here in the decathlon.
There are your standings after that first event. Peyton Bear with a huge lead with that collegiate record in the 100 meters for decathlon. So now more speed on the track with the men's 110-meter hurdles. 3 semifinals, collegiate record held by Olympic champion and 3-time world champion Grant Holloway when he was at Florida. We saw Jim Quallen-Scott, the leadoff for Texas A&M's 4x100 relay, but he talked to us earlier. He's not only in this event, he's in the 400 hurdles as well, and he talked a little bit about how difficult that double is.
Man, it's going to take a lot of heart, I'm going to say, because I'm pretty sure all of my events are going to be less than 45 minutes apart. So my mindset is going to be everything. I got to come out there and just be prepared to know that I might be tired, but oh well, this is bigger than myself. It's for the team. It's for the coaches. It's for the people watching at home. It's for everyone who supports Texas A&M.
And don't be surprised if we see him in the 4x400 meter relay if they feel like they need him.
Well, he's not the only athlete that's going to be doing the 110-meter hurdles and the 400-meter hurdle double. Johnny Brackens of USC will as well. But Texas A&M did not qualify for the finals, so he won't have to worry about leading off the Aggies on Friday, although I'm sure they would love to be in there. But JQ has really had an up-and-down season. I don't think we've seen his best races yet. He has not put together a really clean 110-meter hurdle race. He's run some outstanding 400-meter hurdle races, but his best races have come here late in the season, SEC championships, and then at the regionals. John Adasola, a great find for the University of Houston. There you see the Big 12 champ. He comes over from New Orleans. This is his first year, he's only his second year running the 42-inch hurdles, but his coach there at Rice, Drew Fucci, says he is coming along nicely. And there in lane 8, Demario Prince. This guy is just a pure hurdler. Freshman having a fantastic season. He doesn't do anything but run the short hurdles. 60-meter hurdles indoors, 110-meter hurdles outdoors. But keep an eye on the youngster from Jamaica out there in lane 8. He's been through some battles, not at the national level here, but at the national level in Jamaica, and they know how to run hurdles in Jamaica. So there you see JQ in 5, Adasola in 7, and Demario Prince, the freshman, in 8.
Top 2 finishers automatically qualify to Friday's final, then the next 3 fastest on time over the 3 semifinal heats. JQ in 5, Adasola in 7. What a movement in lane number 3. That's Damaris Waters of Florida. And he very obviously moved. And we expect to see a red card, and he will not be contesting this semifinal. Let's take a little bit closer look. Of course, all the way from junior high school all the way up to the Olympics, you cannot false start. One and done.
Well, and the flinch originally might not have got him disqualified, but when his hands came up and he pushed off the pad, that's what's going to set off the sensor, and that's what's going to signal the false start.
So they're discussing it. They took a look at the replay. And the choices are a green card, a yellow card, or a red card.
False start, lane 3, red card, please.
So red card for lane number 3, Damaris Waters, the junior from Florida, who ran 13:21 early in the season. Transfer from San Jose State. He is out with a false start. So they'll reset. Once again, it's JQ in lane 5. John Adasola of Houston and South Africa in lane number 7. And Demario Prince of Baylor and Jamaica, the freshman from the Baylor Bears.
Well, keep an eye on lane 2. Christian Martin there of Minnesota, the senior. Now he's got an empty lane between himself and the rest of the field there. He's out on an island. He's run 13:49 this season. Not expected to get through to the finals, but if he can, that would be big points. That would be a couple big points for Minnesota.
Oh my gosh, JQ moved. He's looking at the starter like, why don't you just shoot the gun? He's going to say that he heard a sound. He's making his case early. And there are fans that are right down there by the starting line. Let's take a look at it with a headband. That's JQ Scott from A&M, and he definitely moved. It was somewhat less obvious than Damaris Waters, but still.
We've also tended to see that happen back in that corner, Dan, on this track in particular.
Well, and the fans are right on top of these athletes, and there you see the red flag go for JQ. What's interesting, though, is Oscar Smith from Louisiana Tech. He flinched just a little bit, and I thought that might have been what drew
right next to him. Yes.
What drew him off there, but no, JQ has got to have the discipline to stay in there. Even when somebody flinches next to you, you've got to have the discipline to stay in there, and that is a big loss for the Aggies.
That's a massive loss for Pat Henry's Aggies. They were absolutely in the mix for the team title, considering how many teams are in it. And to lose JQ in an event that they probably expected him to score at least 3rd or 4th place points, that's a loss of 5 or 6. That's going to make the difference here. All right, they started with 8. We're down to 6. And the top 2 finishers are who automatically qualify. And those of you who think that the flat sprinters are the ones that fall start most often, that is not the case. It's the hurdlers. They're finally away cleanly. It's Adesola in 7, Smith in 6. Here comes Prince, Demario Prince of Baylor, the freshman in the green. It's going to be Prince. And at the tape, it's Adesola who leans out Oscar Smith of Louisiana Tech for that second automatic qualifying spot. Well, it took forever to get that first semifinal off. 13:27, a fine time for Prince in this first of 3 semis.
And Demario Prince shows a lot of composure. After 2 false starts like that, these athletes, their heads are reeling a little bit. They're kind of in shock, especially you see somebody like Jaqueline Scott go out here in the semis, but Demario Prince didn't seem to really be fazed by it. He ran a really clean race all the way to the finish. Didn't look like he was really pressing at all. John Adesola had to really work from behind there, but a nice run for the freshman, not running like you normally would see a freshman here for being the first time at a national championship.
There are your official results. Prince and Adesola automatically through, with Smith having to wait and see what happens in these next 2 semifinal heats. Heat 2 hurdlers are getting their last warm-ups in. Gives us a chance to look there in the all-white of USC. Johnny Brackens, another athlete who is doing the exact same double, except that Jaqueline Scott won't be doing that double because he just got DQ'd in the 110 hurdles. Brackens going to be contesting both this event and the 400 hurdles later. Very important points potentially scored for the Trojans.
Well, Johnny Brackens indoors ran some outstanding times. He just has not had a great outdoor season, a lot of ups and downs, but he did graduate this spring, and that brings a lot of people to town. There's a graduation. You get celebrated in a lot of different ways, more than just being an athlete. But he has really come on here, really found his groove over the last couple of weeks from the Big Ten championships. He's taken his lumps, but Coach Q says that he is ready to run fast. And Johnny is a great competitor. He can plug it in when he absolutely needs to. He hasn't had that many outdoor races, but he's also put a bigger focus on the 400-meter hurdles. There you see Jacoby Tharp, the indoor champion. A little bit of a surprise to us last year as he was the runner-up at these championships outdoors. I don't think we've seen his best races this season either. Stumbled a little bit in the semis at the SEC championships and was able to get back on track. He wouldn't win that title at the SEC outdoor championships, but running better here late in the season.
Tharp, just a 19-year-old sophomore. Jerome Campbell, the junior from Northern Colorado and Kingston, Jamaica.
Well, he has just hammered the record books at Northern Colorado. He's in the transfer portal. Somebody next year is going to get a fantastic hurdler. He has really done a lot in the Big Sky Conference area. There you see 7 times he's won championships. And he's run well at the national championships, just has not really put his nose up front and challenged for a title yet. Is this a year that Jerome Campbell, and we'll talk about, not only him, but we talked about Prince in the last heat. We'll see some outstanding sprinters and hurdlers, certainly hurdlers from Jamaica, especially on the women's side as well. They really hurdle well in Jamaica, and they really have to go through a gauntlet at the Carifta Games, Jamaican Championships, things of that nature. By the time they get to the national, by the time they get to college, they've been through quite a bit, so they hurdle really well here at the national level.
What do you want to bet Jerome Campbell ends up in the SEC next year? We'll have to take a look and see. Let's not forget about Jamar Marshall from Houston. He's the co-collegiate leader. He'll be down in lane 6. So this is a pretty stacked heat with only 2. There is Marshall, co-collegiate leader, number 5 on the all-time list, and the 110 champion in the Big 12.
On your mark.
Well, Houston has a number of good hurdlers. Jamar Marshall, certainly no shortage of training partners there at Houston, but he has an incredible story of overcoming a heart defect. As he transferred from Arizona State University, got to Houston, they found that, and he had to have surgery to get that fixed. And tough year of recovery last year, but he's running better than ever this season healthy.
So it's Johnny Brackens down there in lane 2. Tharp in the middle in 5. Campbell next to him in 4, and then Marshall in 6. So a lot of speed in the middle of the track. Just the top 2 finishers automatically qualifying through to Friday's final. A very good start for Jacoby Tharp. It's Tharp, but next to him is Bradley Franklin, Jerome Campbell. Jerome Campbell getting tangled up. Now it's Tharp alone. Tharp is going to win it, and on the outside in lane 9, that's Jaheim Stern of LSU, who you can barely see for most of the race because he's right up against the stands, but he gets that second spot. So with a shaky couple, maybe first 3 hurdles, Tharp finally finds his running form and runs away with this first heat, 13:15. That's just 100th of a second off his lifetime best.
Well, and Jacoby Tharp, this is what he does best. He just stays calm, and he just presses through. Look how relaxed Jacoby Tharp is there. You see Johnny Brackens on the inside there, a little bit out of it on the inside. Would not finish that great, but watch Jacoby Tharp in the middle of the track, nice and clean. Good early takeoff. He doesn't crowd that hurdle. He has trouble when he crowds a hurdle and he stands straight up and down, but he's not crowding at all, diving into that hurdle. And look at Jamar Marshall, had to make a really big push there for Houston at the end to try to get into the final there, but that is some solid running from Jacoby Tharp, and he knows it.
So just 200ths of a second off of the collegiate lead. It was Jaheim Stern of LSU who did get that second spot. Jamar Marshall at 13:37's got to wait. Last year it took 13:46 to get through, but there's still 1 heat remaining.
Well, you see that 13:60 by Johnny Brackens down there in 7th position. That is not going to get it done, but there we see the SEC champ, Kendrick Smallwood, and he has turned away all competitors this season. Florida relays, Texas relays, SEC championships. He has found a way to win a lot of races this year. The co-collegiate leader, 13:13, his fastest this year. Had a chance to just briefly say hi to him on the practice track. He looks like he's really locked in, and Edric Florial says what he likes most about Kendrick Smallwood is his ability to accelerate in between the hurdles, to get back down on the ground and to sprint hard in between. He's a little bit of a shorter stature, so he has to hurdle technically much better than everybody else, but he is just having a fantastic season. There you see Zachary Eckstein, the junior from Arizona. He's having a great season as well. I got a chance to text him last night and I said, what are your expectations? He said, I'm here to win this thing. There you see running at University of Arizona, and it's a good time to give his coach, Fred Harvey, a shout out, who's retiring this year. 38 years Fred Harvey's been coaching that program at the University of Arizona, and he'll be stepping away, not completely away from the sport of track and field, but just as the head coach. But Zach Eckstein has run really well. Outstanding run at the regional championships. And there's Braxton Brand, the sophomore out of Ohio State. Brand coached by Joel Brown, three-time Big Ten champ in the early 2000s. Certainly somebody that Rich Benoit and I are familiar with. Coach Brown's records are what Braxton Brand is chasing at Ohio State University.
So there are your lane assignments. I can tell you that the bubble time is 13:45. So with a heat remaining, they're already having to run faster this year over last year to get through to the final if you're a time qualifier, if you're going for one of those 3 fastest times that did not automatically qualify.
Well, Zach Eckstein, and you see kind of just the quality of the heat. That second heat did have some really fast guys in it. I think we're going to see a little bit cleaner race here in the third, but Somebody keep an eye on Zach Eckstein there in lane 3. 3 times this season he's broken the University of Arizona 110-meter hurdle record.
Smallwood in lane 5. You can't miss him with the blonde hair. He gets an excellent start. Smallwood out first, followed closely by Ethan Exlom of Northeastern. But it is Smallwood. Now they're Eckstein. Eckstein into the lead. Smallwood and Eckstein. And that's how they'll finish. Those are your top 2 qualifiers, with Darius Brown of DePaul getting the 3rd spot. But the top 2, Kendrick Smallwood, the junior from Texas, and Zach Eckstein, the junior from Arizona. 13:26 the time for Smallwood. It's all about getting to the final.
And Kendrick Smallwood, he looked like he almost overran that first hurdle. Looked like he really opened his strides as he came out of the blocks. And then he had to make an adjustment. He stumbled a little bit on that second stride. And so this was just a race of adjustments there for the Longhorn Junior, but he does a really good job of figuring out his takeoff points. And that's so important in the hurdles. You get too close to the hurdles, going to stand you right up. There goes Braxton Brand on the 10th hurdle. But Smallwood, just great adjustments all the way through. This guy just finds a way to win. And like I said, he has turned back challengers all season long, having an absolute perfect season when it comes to finals. Can Smallwood beat Thorpe in the finals?
So those are your advancers to final. It took 13:40 to make it through to the final here in 2025. All right, more speed on the track when we return. We take the hurdles off the track, and the flat sprinters, the speedsters, will be running 3 semifinal heats when we return to Eugene. We're back in Eugene. Dwight Stones along with Laura Overton, Dan O'Brien, and John Anderson. The next event on the track, the men's 100-meter heats. They're the collegiate meet records held by Christian Coleman and the collegiate leader, Abdul Rashid Samanu, who we saw in the 4x100 relay, and we'll see in these heats. 3 heats, top 2 finishers in each of these heats automatically qualifying in the next 3 as we take a look at the center of the track in semifinal number 1. This is Kalen Walker, the junior from Iowa, the Big Ten 100-meter champ.
Well, and when you see all the athletes from USC, the USC Trojans at that Big Ten championship, you wouldn't have picked Kalen Walker, but he is having a fantastic outdoor season. He came on our radar a couple seasons ago when he was runner-up in the 60-meter at the NCAA Indoor Championships, but struggled with a little bit of injuries over the last few seasons, but he wowed a gigantic crowd at an Iowa football game earlier this year where he ran a 40-yard dash in 4:15, besting the former NFL Combine 40-yard record of 4:22, but he is having an outstanding outdoor season, making a name for himself in the 100 meters. Here is Max Thomas. Where's the C on the uniform? Team captain for the Trojans. He was second to Kalen Walker, and I'm sure he is looking at some redemption here at the NCAA championships, and those Big Ten championships happened right here on this track. And there's T. Mars McCallum. Had a chance to talk to his coach, Dwayne Ross, prior to this race. And T. Mars did not look his best at the SEC championships, but he has rebounded with a phenomenal regional championships. He was the number 2 qualifier in the 100 at those regionals, and number 2 qualifier in the 200 meters at the East Regional Championship. So he is coming around at the right time. Keep an eye on Jelani Gordon in lane 4. He could get things started for Georgia. And Neil Musebi of Florida State, just a sophomore out of South Africa, has been running really well. But the times were phenomenal at those regional meets. Both the West and the East, he had to run really fast to get here to these championships.
Just 2 can automatically qualify. Walker in 5. T. Mars in 6, Max Thomas in 7. Oh, and a quick gun. And T. Mars was out quickly. Max Thomas is behind, as well as Jelani Gordon. It's T. Mars McCallum, now Max Thomas. Kalen Walker well back, 4th, maybe 5th. Almost no wind whatsoever. 10:03 officially for T-Mars. Maybe he was just waiting to get here. Max Thomas right behind at 10:09, and then Jelani Gordon 3rd at 10:19.
Well, this is the most relaxed I've ever seen T-Mars McCallum really run. He gets to about the midway point and he just turns it over. Look at the acceleration, look at that turnover. Max Thomas was able to go with him. Kalen Walker, the best part of his race, Dwight, is his start, and it looked like that was a quick gun and kind of surprised everybody. So Kalen Walker was not able to put a beautiful start together like he has done all this outdoor season. But T-Mars rolling here for Tennessee.
So there are the official results with McCallum and Thomas automatically qualifying. Kalen Walker down in 5th place. He is the bubble. 10:23 is the bubble with 2 semifinal heats remaining, and there was almost no wind on that race. So let's step aside for a moment and pick up with more decathlon and Dan.
All right, let's get over to the long jump, the number 2 event. This is Brad Thomas, the senior, the gaucho from UC Santa Barbara. This is his 2nd attempt. Outstanding jumper he is, good long jumper, good high jumper. So important to not have fouls, only 3 attempts in his 2nd round. He'd go 23-6 for 852 points. Here's your national leader, Tilstein 4th, the Olympian from Germany. Real powerful athlete, good jumper as well, good long jumper, good high jumper. Outstanding thrower, but Tilstein 4th on his 2nd attempt. He would put one out there even farther, take the overall lead, 24-2.5. And here is your winner of the 100 meters now. Peyton Bear wants to bring all that speed over to the long jump runway. His 2nd attempt would be his best jump of the day, and he would go 23 feet 10 inches for 881 points. But look at the weather. It was hot here last couple of days. Now these athletes are competing under blue skies. A little bit cooler here. Tayton Klein, the junior from Kansas, would take him 3 jumps to produce his best. But he would have the best jump of the competition there in that 3rd round, and he would know it. 24 feet 5 3/4 of an inch for 925 points, over 900 points there. So they're through 2 events in the 10-event decathlon, and Peyton Bear still your leader. Tilstein 4th, the collegiate leader, in 2nd, not far behind.
So Bear 87 points ahead of the field as we get ready for the 2nd of 3 semifinal heats in this 100 meters. This heat featuring the collegiate leader, co-collegiate leader, Abdul Rashid Samanu, the senior from Ghana. He's run 9:86, and he ran in the Olympics in Paris for his native Ghana.
Well, he had a spectacular meet in Jacksonville at the regionals, 9:86, and it was a legal time. Anthony Jordan has run quicker, but Saminu has that legal time. But he has already got he's got a world championship qualifier. There's Taylor Banks of USC. Three Trojans here in this 2nd heat. Taylor Banks, the senior, only got a chance to spend 1 season here with the Trojans. There's Jelani Watkins, the freshman. We're going to talk about football players running track and field all day. Jelani Watkins, one of those athletes, and he brought LSU home to a strong finish in that 4x1. We'll see him in the finals as well.
So as you mentioned, 3 USC Trojans in this heat. Eddie and Kadia in 6, as well as Travis Williams in 8. They've seen their teammate make it through automatically in the 1st heat. That was Max Thomas, so he is through. 5 Trojans total in this 24-man field in the 100 meters.
Well, and in lane 7, Jaleel Kroll of South Florida as well. He has run 10:08 at the regional meet to come in as well. So 2 South Florida athletes, 3 USC Trojans.
A good start for Seminu as well as Taylor Banks, but Banks then struggles. Now Jelani Watkins comes into the scene. There is Watkins. He's going to win the heat. It's going to be Watkins, and on the outside in lane 9, that might be Israel Okon of Auburn, snatching that second place automatic spot. But it was Jelani Watkins after Taylor Banks had a great start and then stumbled. Watkins, the freshman, runs 1/100th of a second off his personal best into the slightest zephyr of a headwind, 0.2. And that was a little bit shocking.
Well, it looked like Eddie and Katie of Southern Cal as well stumbled coming out of the blocks just a little bit. There you see the big man in the middle, and Kadia, he stumbles. Good start by Seminu. But look at Jelani Watkins. All season long, he's just answered the call, and then Israel Okon on the outside. The freshman from Auburn, and I asked Ken Harnden, Auburn sprint coach, I said, is there anybody you're bringing here to the championships who's never been to Eugene, Oregon? And he said Israel Okon's first time here, and the freshman steps up. But Jelani Watkins as well, the other freshman in that heat, has just been run sensational. Week after week, he's getting it done.
Okon tries his lifetime best getting in there for second, and Watkins just 100th of a second off his personal best. That was a wild heat into a slight headwind. One heat remaining. The bubble goes down to 10:19. It took 10:22 last year to advance to the final. All right, third and final semifinal, and this is Kenyon Sola Ajayi of Auburn. He will start out in lane number 4. He is the top returner in the 100 meters. He was third in this event last year.
Well, and he ran the second leg on that Auburn 4x1 relay, really opened it up for the Auburn Tigers. This young man can definitely fly. You talk about the different athletes who've been to the who were at the Paris Olympics. He was certainly one of them. There you see longtime legendary coach Leroy Burrell now at Auburn. Interesting things happening so far here at this meet. There you see Jordan Anthony has the fastest time in the 100 meters this season, but it was just a little bit over the allowable wind at Texas A&M at the regional meet, 978. Everybody went crazy, and he says he doesn't think too much about those times. He just gets out there, tries to compete, take it week by week. There you see Mason Lawyer trying to be one of the most successful sprinters ever at Washington State University. Not sure we've seen anybody sprint quite like he has. He's qualified here in the 1 and the 2. But Jordan Anthony goes in the middle of the track. He is the toast of the town right now, running some outstanding times, and he's made it really look easy. Outstanding runner at this year's SEC Outdoor Championships, and he was voted by coaches in the SEC Conference the outstanding runner of this outdoor season.
J.C. Stevenson down there in lane number 7 for the Trojans. Their last chance to get another qualifier, but it's all about Jordan Anthony, who didn't look that sharp in the relay. His Arkansas Razorbacks finishing third in their heat. But it seems like he's just gotten better and better every week. The bubble time 10:19. Jaden Reed on Jordan Anthony's right also needs to be considered. He's run 10:05 this year. And a good start for Jaden Reed as well as Ajayi. Ajayi is going to win the heat. Now who's going to get second? It is going to be Jaden Reed of LSU getting that second spot. 9:92 with legal win for Jordan Anthony. And that's a lifetime best for the sophomore. Ajayi, I should say. I'm sorry, sophomore from Auburn. 9.92 with a 1.6, so he did get a little help from the wind. It was a slight headwind in the second semifinal.
Well, there you see Ajayi with the 4 on his hip. Hips nice and high in that set position. Doesn't have to go very far, and he is, boom, one step, and he's into running position. And look at him. When he establishes good running position, comes out of the box, hits his alignment, lines it up, and there he goes, one flap down. Like Jeffrey Leonard there on that left arm as he crosses the finish line, looks over to see where is Jordan Anthony. I'll tell you what, Dwight, we've seen him in the relay. We've seen him in the 100 meters. Jordan Anthony just doesn't quite look like we've seen him over the last couple of meets of the season. Leroy Burrell has got to be thrilled with the results of not only the hurdles, but here in the 100 meters.
Well, Jordan Anthony ran fast enough in that final heat, 10:06 to make it through. It took 10:10. And Eddie and Katie did get in, so the Trojans got 2 of their 5 sprinters into Friday's final. It could be a wild one depending on what the wind does, but Ajayi looking awfully sharp in winning that 3rd semifinal. All right, we're done with the flat speed on the straightaway, but now we come back for the oval flat speed. It's the men's 400 next. All right, next event on the track, 3 heats, 3 semifinals of the men's 400. There's the collegiate record held by former world champion Michael Norman, who also has the meet record. That's the last day of the old track. Makai Danzi came up with an injury, so he will not be competing in this first heat. We're looking at Alabama sophomore Samuel Ogazi of Nigeria. He is the top returner for this event. He was the runner-up last year.
Well, another one of those athletes who has Olympic experience, but because he had Olympic experience, that season was so late into the summer that he got a little bit of a late start. Didn't run a whole lot indoors, got nicked up just a little bit, so they really took his time getting him in shape into the outdoor season. But Coach Blaine Wiley at Alabama, sorry, that's a mistake.
Ooh, it's a big mistake.
At Alabama says that he has been doing some incredible things in practice and he is ready to run. There's Ahmad Robinson, the senior from Texas A&M. Robinson is a savvy runner. You just never know what kind of run you're going to get from him, Dwight. Is he going to go out hard and hold on? But, he can run from behind. He can run in front. I think the rounds and the wind got the better of him in the finals at the SEC Championships after running a really strong semifinal time. But he can run this race any way he wants to. He just kind of has to decide on how he's going to get it done and absolutely do it. But he's a super savvy runner there, and you see him just on the inside of Ogazi.
And we've seen Ahmad Robinson drop a 43.2 anchor leg for the A&M Aggies. So Robinson in 5, Ogazi in 6. Same qualification configuration as the 100. It's the top 2 finishers who will automatically qualify in each of these 3 semifinal heats, and then the next 3 fastest times that were not automatic qualifiers. Obviously the wind has a little less of an effect on this race than it does on the 100, where we saw a headwind in one semifinal and a pretty decent tailwind in another. Robinson with an advantage of having Ogazi on his outside. And Ogazi is out well into the straightaway, back straight, making up the stagger on Deshaun Boyce to his outside.
Well, Sam Ogazi always closes really hard in the last 150. And Coach Wiley at Alabama said if this kid could ever figure out the first part of this race, he is going to be absolutely devastating. But there you see him. Look at him just stride away from this field. Now Ahmad Robinson's got to go to work.
Races for second place. Sean Boyce of Tech is in second. Robinson, he knows he's got to have a second place finish. It's going to be Boyce getting that second spot. But Ogazi just cruised to victory in this first semifinal. 44-77 for the sophomore from Nigeria.
Well, and I guess it's safe to say that Sam Ogazi has figured out the first 250 meters of this race, because he got a little bit of a reputation for being a hard closer, waiting till late, but he went out nice and hard there. Look at that. That was a really Nice 44.77 here in the heats. He didn't have to run that fast, but he made it look easy.
Took 45.59 to make the final last year. You can see how many guys ran faster than that. But Robinson and Jordan Pierre are going to have to wait to see if those times will hold up. So now we wait for the second heat. Let's go have a little bit of men's pole vault with Dan.
All right, they are pole vaulting on the east side. There you see the group get together. Little prayer group there. The pole vault is dangerous. Want to pray that everybody is safe today. Here's Cody Johnson, the sophomore from Illinois. This is his second attempt at 17.5 3/4. And look how dangerous certainly the pole vault can be. His top hand slipped off the pole there. But here's Alexander Solovev, Sasha, the junior from Texas A&M. He got a chance to compete here earlier this season at that team scoring meet, won the pole vault here, and that's a great experience to come in here. His first attempt over 17.5 3/4 makes him certainly the favorite, SEC outdoor champ. And what do you know, we got another Gatormson in the house. This is the senior Simon from Duke, and he's over easily on a third attempt, almost no-heighted. That was his opening bar. But his brother won 3 NCAA titles.
All right, getting ready for the second of 3 semifinal heats in this 400 meters. And this heat featuring one of the bulls from South Florida, Gabriel Moronto Jr. Started his collegiate career at Mississippi State, transferred to South Florida.
Well, and Larry, you got to love this. This guy was running 800 meters, 400-meter hurdles, and then he comes to South Florida, and now he's a quarter miler. This guy has got an engine. He's run 149 in the 800, and here he is dropping 45 flats now in the 400. I think life gets a little bit easier when you come down in distance.
It's a great testament of your strength when you can run the 400 hurdles and the 800, and then you have the opportunity to run really fast, flat 400s. Absolutely. You can just think about all of that endurance training and that aerobic base that he's built up from hurdling and from the middle distances. Also, too, it can keep you from getting bored when you have the opportunity, you have the versatility to move in different event areas.
Well, he's a South Florida school record holder now, but what's interesting is he only ran like 56, 57 seconds for a 400 personal best in high school. Look at the improvement. There you see William Jones out most of last season with a hamstring injury, healthy this year, but we saw him at the end of last season, but he just, Coach Quincy Watts said he lost his base as he got in championship season. He just didn't run well at the end of last season, but he's running really strong this season. He's been under 45 seconds. He hasn't been under 45 seconds, this year, but Coach Q said that he is ready to go. Here's Will Floyd, the NCAA indoor champ. And again, that's just heavy wins at the SEC championships. Really kind of got to Will Floyd as well, as he wasn't able to run that solid in the SEC final. But he has run really well to get to this meet, but he's clear out there in lane 9. And I talked to Coach Carroll from Georgia, and I said, lane 9, that's got to stink for Will Floyd. And she says, they're going to put you where you rank. You want to get out of lane 9, you got to run faster.
There are the lane assignments with Will Floyd out there by himself in lane 9. Top 2 finishers automatically qualifying to Friday's final.
Well, I think with Will Floyd out there in lane 9, what you're going to get is a really fast 200 meters to start this race. Will Floyd is an outstanding 200-meter runner. He likes to push the pace early on, and he's going to be out there where everybody can see him.
Floyd, a transfer from Stanford to Georgia. And was a bit of a surprise winner of the NCAA indoor title in Virginia Beach back in March. So Moronto Jr. in 5, William Jones in 6, and Floyd on the outside in 9, and Trey East, the third of Houston, is moving well out there in lane 8.
Yeah, good start on the outside by both East and Floyd. They've gone out really hard in that first 200. Nice response there by Will Floyd. Felt East coming up on the inside. I think that pushed him just a little bit as well.
Gabriel Clement Jr. of UCLA and the blue of the Bruins also moving nicely as they get into the turn. He's actually leading the field off the turn. It's Clement. And now in lane 2, that is Cutler Zamzow, but running out of gas. Here comes Maranta with Jones, and that's how they finish. First and second automatic qualifiers. They were really not contending as well as they might want to coming off the turn, but they have both had very strong finishing straights and managed to get those 2 automatic qualifying spots.
Well, both Maranta and Jones just showed a lot of patience, a lot of composure down in that last 100 meters. Both guys are in pain, they're hurting, but to get to the line, you got to continue to work on your mechanics. And those 2 guys on the outside, Will Floyd and Anthony East, they did a lot of the work to get the group to this point. But watch Gabriel Maranta Jr., how he just continues to work. He's not leaning out in front of him. He's not overstriding. It's just turnover and tempo. The same with William Jones. And they just use that technique all the way through the line. Jones just straining a little bit, like see him relax on that, but nice run there by Maranta Jr.
So Maranta and Jones automatically through. Clement in third gets a lifetime best. Will Floyd in fourth will not advance. He's already over the bubble. So that lane 9 and going out fast the first 200 really took its toll on the Georgia sophomore from Canada. So we move along to heat number 3. And the bubble is down to 45-44. It took 45-59 last year. As we look at the Duke freshman, Joseph Taylor, is the ACC outdoor 400-meter runner-up. And he will start out in lane number 7.
Well, the freshman got off to a little bit of a rough start. Didn't qualify for the 400 meters indoors, but what an outdoor season he's really had. He's rebounded nicely. Hitting that runner-up position, ran 45.05 at the regional meet, went under 45 seconds for the first time at the ACC meet. We'll see this Duke team in the 4x4 as well, as they were easy qualifiers in the East region. Duke really putting some fantastic athletes on the track this weekend. They got a couple decathletes out there, some good sprinters, some relays, but this young man, Nathan Kent, guys, what a Patriot League championship he had. 4 wins, 100 meters, 200, 4x1, and the 4x4. He also plays wide receiver for Navy, but he is a phenomenal sprinter. He went 45.23 at the East Regionals. He's an outstanding 200-meter runner as well, but he's put all his efforts into the 400 meters here late in the season. Navy got their 4x4 through. We'll get a chance to see them at the end of the night. And here's Jonah McKeever, the transfer from Iowa, injured indoors. I was really excited to see him. Didn't get a chance to see him indoors, and has really shown a lot of signs of life here late in the outdoor season. Looked good at the SEC championships, didn't score well in the finals, but looked good in the semis. And then he's run some outstanding relay legs for the Florida Gators here over the last couple of weeks of the season. But McKeever, all kinds of ability and a lot of times to live up to. Times that he ran at Iowa, he just isn't quite there yet, but his fitness level and his health has been coming around.
Stat on him: between February 2021 and May 2024, tore his hamstrings on 8 occasions. That would give you a little bit of pause as a coach from time to time. There are the lane assignments, with McKeever getting that dreaded lane 9 draw. But Kent in 5, Taylor in 7.
Well, Nathan Kent owns the record books at Navy, maybe the best sprinter that Navy has ever had. 8 of the top 10 times in the 400 meters ever run by a Navy athlete. And the school record holder in the 200 meters as well. He is in lane 5.
45-44 is the bubble time. If you aren't first or second in this last heat, you better be under that time if you want to run this race on Friday. Nathan Kent moving nicely in the middle of the track. You can see him in the gold top. Also, Shamer Utter of Texas A&M, or Texas Tech, I should say. Now here comes Jaden Davis and Joseph Taylor. Kent starting to falter a little bit there in the middle of the track. Went out awfully hard. It's Davis and Taylor. Jaden Davis of Arizona State. Kent is coming back, but is he going to run out of real estate for that second automatic qualifier? He doesn't get it. Joseph Taylor of Duke winning the heat and automatically qualifying to Friday's final, 45-34. That does not bode well for a third place finish when the bubble is 45-44. That's the time Jaden Davis ran, and Nathan Kent is over the bubble, so he will not advance.
Well, I got to tell you, Joseph Taylor just does not look like a freshman. Look at the poise, the posture. He does a really nice job of continuing to work down the track. Maybe he's leaning a little far back, but man, he continues to drive those arms all the way to the line. And Jaden Davis, the sophomore from Arizona State, just will not be denied a spot in the finals. Look at him work to get to the line as well. But Nathan Kent, he did a lot of work in that first 250 meters, paid the price coming home. But nice run by the Duke freshman.
So Jordan Pierre at 45-44 becomes the final time qualifier from Arkansas Pine Bluff. But look at Samuel Ogazi. He made that 44.77 look awfully easy. USC gets William Jones through more point scoring opportunities in the sprints for the Trojans. It's going to be a hot 400 meters on Friday on the men's side. All right, we're going to double the distance when we come back. 3 semifinal heats of the men's 800 meters when we return. Back in Eugene, Oregon from our coverage of the 2025 NCAA Track and Field Championships. It's men's semifinal day. There are the records for the next event on the track. 3 semifinals in the men's 800 meters. Michael Cerrone still the collegiate record holder. Donovan Brazier has the meet record. And Christian Jackson from Virginia Tech with the best time amongst collegians this year. Same configuration of qualifying with 3 semifinals. The top 2 across the finish line automatically qualifying to Friday's final. Then the next 3 fastest times that did not automatically qualify will advance. Here is crowd favorite, Matthew Erickson, the senior from Oregon and from Canada. He won the NCAA indoor championships at this distance.
Looking to sweep those indoor and outdoor titles. He and his teammate Quadritoy Kadali had an opportunity earlier this week to spend time with Joachim Cruz, the Olympic gold medalist and Oregon Duck legend who is here for the collegiate track and field ceremonies. Cruz gave them some words of wisdom, told Matty Erickson and Quadritoy Kadali that of all the places that he's raced all over the world, Hayward Field is no place like anywhere else. He said, let that carry you. And when you talk about Arkansas, the team title hopes, Tyrese Taylor and advancing to the final, a big part of the scoring opportunities they have in the distance events.
Yeah, almost mandatory for him to advance for the Razorbacks. Lane 4 is open. Matsatsa of Georgetown is a late scratch. So there are 7 athletes in this first of 3 semifinal heats. Erickson and Kadali in the green of Oregon, giving the crowd a little rooting interest, even though they, as a crowd generally, just enjoy good performances regardless of who achieves them. Erickson setting the early pace with Taylor right there. And that Sam Rodman of Princeton in 3rd place. A quick first 400 meters, 52.13.
Matty Erickson, highly motivated coming off the Big Ten championship meet. Head coach Jerry Schumacher said he's capable of winning any race he's in, but the Big Ten meet did not put himself in a great position. Had a great closing finish, but it was not enough to get the victory. So he's coming in with a little chip on his shoulder, looking to defend home track. Tyrese Taylor doing a phenomenal job up front with Rodman right on his shoulder. Here comes Kadali with a big charge.
And Erickson is going backwards, paying the price for that strong early pace. Tyrese Taylor with Taito Kadali, the freshman from Oregon, and down Samuel Navarro of Mississippi State making a move in the outside of lane 2. It's Taylor, Kadali, and Navarro. Navarro is trying to get that second spot. I don't think he got it. Taylor wins the heat and gets the automatic qualifying position, I think, along with Kadali, with Navarro diving at the tape. 145.23 for Taylor, so he is through. But Matt Erickson, aggressive first 400, and after about 600, he seemed to be done.
And Kadali is still on the track. Getting some attention from the medical staff here at Hayward Field. Gave everything he could, fighting to the finish. Tyrese Taylor doing an excellent job of navigating the second 400 meters so that he is out there all on his own as he's in full sprint. Here is Kadali trying to fend off the late charge from Sam Navarro. Navarro's gonna dive here. They both hit the track, just trying to fight for every single 1/10 of a second, and even more so, just the positioning there to solidify a spot in the final. And Kadali takes such a tough tumble as he rolls onto the track. Tyrese Taylor, what a fantastic run. Looks to be a personal best. Yes, it is. Pretty significant personal best by about a half second. Phenomenal running from him. Now he'll look to see if his teammate can join him in that final.
So Taylor and Kadali automatically through. Navarro just 100th back, and Erickson still has a chance, but these next two semifinals will tell the tale. Kadali still looks a little bit shaken up, because we'll move across to Dan for third event of the decathlon, the shot put.
Well, we get over to the shot put here for these decathletes. Here's Peyton Bear, your leader, junior from Mississippi State. First attempt in the shot put. This would be his best throw of the competition. 46 feet 8 inches, solid, but he has certainly thrown farther for 740 feet. Is Till Steinforth. He's a strong shot putter, his second attempt. He would send one out midway between the 14 and 16 meter line there. 48 feet 2 for 770 points. Certainly not lighting the world on fire there. Let's see a couple of personal bests. This is Grant Levesque from Houston, the senior from Houston. Had some injury trouble in the indoor season, but here he manages to hook up with a personal best, 45.9 3/4. And here in the third round, the senior from Arkansas, Marcus Weaver, beginning to make his presence felt. There you see, no yell quite like a Marcus Weaver yell. But on his third attempt, he would go 50 feet 8 3/4 inches and get the crowd pumped up. That would be an all-time personal best for him. 818 points, and Marcus Weaver would be on the move here in the third event in this decathlon. If he can score some points here for the Razorbacks in the decathlon, it would mean a lot.
All right, slightly closing the gap on the leader there in the decathlon as we get ready for the second of 3 semifinal heats in this men's 800 meters. This one featuring from Wake Forest and South Africa, Reinhard Swanepoel. There he is in lane number 5.
Swanepoel coming off a personal best at the East Regional meet, 145.28. Just last year, he was the first one out of the final at the NCAA championships. So coming in with tons of motivation to this outdoor season. Abdullahi Hassan representing Mississippi State, the NCAA indoor runner-up, finishing just behind Maddie Erickson of Oregon. In talking to Coach Chris Woods, he says that Hassan has come so close to winning a title in so many different situations, just so hungry to get a win. And a guy who is well familiar with racing, Abdullahi Hassan, is the SEC champion, Sam Whitmarsh, who is the runner-up this year, just got edged for the national championship at this meet 1 year ago. Pat Henry says that Sam has really started to believe in himself and his abilities and is putting himself in position to do something special.
There are the lane assignments. Once again, the top 2 finishers automatically qualifying to Friday's final, and the next 3 fastest times that were not automatic qualifiers for a 9-man field. That's what they are looking for on Friday. Stay in their lanes until the backstretch, and then they will break for the pole.
In watching Sam Whitmarsh this outdoor season, he really didn't show all of his cards. He paced some races throughout the outdoor season and really had a very intentional build coming into championship season ahead of the SEC meet. Didn't want to overrun, had sights set on this meet and putting himself in position here as he has Abdullahi Hassan right there with him, much like we saw at the SEC conference meet just a month ago. Those 2 right there up front.
Whitmarsh with the lead, but Hassan right there on his shoulder. And in on the rail, that is Aiden McCarthy of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. 52.59, ever so slightly slower than the first heat. And from Virginia Tech, that's Nick Platt now, who has moved into position in 2nd place. Hassan now back to 5th, now 6th.
Sam Whitmarsh, very smart in getting there up front because he has such a long stride. You do not want to run the risk of settling in and getting boxed in or facing any sort of traffic in a race that just goes by this quick. Swanepoel in threatening position. He has done such a great job on that backstretch of really charging onto the shoulder of Sam Whitmarsh. Watch out for Aiden McCarthy, who has threatening closing speed as well. Oh, woo!
Okay, 2 runners out. Hassan on the outside is running out of real estate. It is McCarthy on the inside with Whitmarsh and Swanepoel. And it's going to be McCarthy, Aiden McCarthy, the junior from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, winning this 2nd heat, with Sam Whitmarsh grabbing the 2nd automatic qualifying spot, 1:47.25. So quite a bit slower than the first heat. Swanepoel and Hassan both out of those top positions at a slower race. Their times very likely will not advance them to the final.
Aiden McCarthy just exhibited such great instinct. Really has risen to the level of competition in these situations. Here's what happens here. A little bit of traffic that you're seeing. I believe that's Andrew Casey of Wisconsin who gets tangled up. Then it's Lloyd Freelo of TCU. Hassan was able to dodge quite a bit of it. Didn't go down, but certainly had to work to get around all of that traffic. Aiden McCarthy with a really savvy move on the inside rail. Sam Whitmarsh created that opportunity for him.
So McCarthy wins the heat with Sam Whitmarsh, the 2nd automatic qualifier, and Swanepoel and Hassan, 2 of the favorites, are going to have to sit back and wait. No, they're out of it. They are already over the bubble. They will not advance. You got to get to the final.
You have to get to the final, exactly. Doesn't matter how fast you've run. That's what we've seen time and again, is so often that you're fixated on running certain times or certain marks, when in reality what you should be focused on is racing well and running to win. Someone looking to do that is Christian Jackson, who has been the fastest among collegians this year, having run 1:44.83 to win the ACC meet. Also competed at last year's Olympic trials. Handel Robin, you can see him getting focused there in his lane, representing Penn State, a 3-time NCAA championship 800-meter scorer. He was third in this event just 2 years ago. Does a fantastic job of putting himself in great positions in championship race situations. Rivaldo Marshall, who was the indoor national champion last year when competing for Iowa, now competing for Arkansas, has adapted very well to the program there that Chris Bucknam has in Fayetteville.
I didn't see any obvious movement, but there may be a timing issue. While we have a moment, Handel Robin from Penn State, also from St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Not often you see a call back there in the 800.
Finding out lane 3 had raised that hand, uncomfortable in their on your mark position potentially. So they bring it back, they have a little conversation, see if it's a green or a yellow. It's a green. All right, see, he was off balance, raised his hand. Very smart to do that. And it's a good thing that the officials noticed that and brought it back. Handel Robin gets a chance to get set and be comfortable. And they're off cleanly on a second try.
We noted Rivaldo Marshall at the beginning of this. You can see him quickly getting out front. Mentioned the fact that he was the NCAA champion indoors in 2024. Really motivated coming into this outdoor season because he actually missed this year's indoor championship meet. So now looking for a bit of redemption on the national stage and looking to translate that success he had indoors to the outdoor season. Also highly motivated, not just for this individual event, but the opportunity to score points for his team. Obviously saw Tyrese Taylor in the earlier rounds well navigate through. Rivaldo Marshall has been looking very good over the course of this outdoor season.
Slower through the first 400 in this semifinal, 53.4, about a second slower than the last two. Marshall has the pacing well in hand. Robin on the rail right behind him. That's Brian Quaye of Clemson, and Kenya on Robin's shoulder.
And Robin's going to have to navigate through some traffic as you see Kyle Reinheimer with a huge surge down the backstretch. A little bit of contact there because everyone's trying to get into full stride, and they are so tightly bunched coming off that turn. Reinheimer looking fantastic right now.
Marshall making the adjustment when he felt Reinheimer come up on his shoulder. So it is Marshall has led from the front. Reinheimer, now here comes Robin back. And for Virginia Tech, that is Christian Jackson trying to get through on the rail and successfully doing so. It's Marshall and Jackson who are your automatic qualifiers out of this third and final semifinal. 1:47.09 for Jackson.
And I don't think anyone saw Christian Jackson surging on the inside. Rivaldo Marshall quick to get those spikes off after leading nearly the entirety of that race, doing what he needed to do though to ensure he is on and into the final. But Christian Jackson, let's see how he navigates this. You can see he's a few strides back with 100 meters to go. Reinheimer in good position, Robin in good position. Rivaldo Marshall looks like he's kind of cruising in, thinking he comfortably has the victory. But incredible surge. Look how Christian Jackson just fights through on the inside. It's the reason he's the collegiate leader, coming in when he's able to execute just like that. I do think Rivaldo Marshall ran really comfortably though, although he was up front doing all of the work. The majority of that race looked really comfortable through the finish, and you want to try to preserve anything you can for the final.
It took 1:46.27 to get through and lost a lot of good 800-meter runners who will not be contesting this final. When we come back, it's the 400-meter hurdle semifinals. Next on the track, they have the hurdles up. 3 heats of the 400-meter hurdles, Rai Benjamin, the Olympic champion, is also the collegiate record holder as well as the meet record holder. And Nathaniel Ezekiel, who is in this heat, is the leader amongst collegians. He'll be there out in lane 7. Also from Nigeria, a Paris Olympian who made the semifinal in the 400 hurdles as well as in the 4x400 relay for his country. Number 7 on the all-time list in this event.
Well, he's only been over 10 hurdles 5 times this outdoor season, and I think that says a lot more about what he plans on doing this summer. He has not competed a bunch in this outdoor season, but he plans on going to the World Championships, certainly Nigerian Championships, World Championships, and competing overseas. But this guy is next level, absolutely. He has all the intangibles that it's going to take to be a contender, certainly at the next level. There you see Johnny Brackens. It's been just probably about an hour, less than an hour, since he ran the 110-meter hurdle, did not qualify, did not get through. But he spent a little bit more time this season in the 400-meter hurdles, but he's still young in this event. Has not run it that many times. They didn't run him in this event last year just to keep him a little bit fresh. But he's got a little bit of patella tendonitis, so he decided that he was going to spend time in both hurdle races this season and not long jump as much. And he's turned out to be an outstanding 400-meter hurdler. If he can find his rhythm, if he can find his step pattern early on, he's going to be able to get through and qualify. Here's Xavier Taylor, the three-time Coastal Athletic Association champion. He was your top qualifier coming out of the East, number 9 ranked nationally this season.
There are your lane assignments with Nathaniel Ezekiel of Baylor has the number 3 time in the world this year so far at 47.89, running that time at the Big 12 outdoor meet. He was 3rd at this event last year.
Well, interesting note about Nathaniel Ezekiel, he always runs well. He always runs fast white against pros. And he's yet to really take command of an NCAA championship in this his best event.
Same qualification as all these one-lap flat races, as well as the 800. Top 2 finishers across the line automatically qualifying to Friday's final. And then the next 3 fastest on time as they're going to call these runners back. And they will take their time as they should, returning to the starting line.
Well, and I'll tell you, Dwight, extremely frustrating. We've seen starters long guns, short guns, and not that a starter needs to be predictable, certainly, but there's no reason to have a really long hold in a 400-meter hurdle race.
So as predicted, the athletes taking their time, getting back to the starting line, and hopefully we will learn that there was not an infraction of any kind by the athlete, just potentially a timing issue or something else benign.
All right, there is a green card. Whew.
So we don't lose anyone. They'll reset. So it's Brackens of USC in 5. Taylor of North Carolina A&T in 6. And then Ezekiel of Baylor in lane number 7. Ezekiel, the only runner in the field with a time under 48 seconds this year. And they're away cleanly this time. And it's easy to see who's in the lead. Whoever goes over the hurdle first, that's who's leading. Ezekiel is out quickly, followed closely by Taylor. Bracken's a bit behind, seems to be having a little bit of step issues.
Well, it took Ezekiel Taylor about 100 meters to really get going, but just look at him now tear away from this field.
Nathaniel Ezekiel, the senior from Baylor, is all by himself. Xavier Taylor currently in second position. He wants that automatic qualifying spot. Here comes Johnny Brackens. Mario Paul of Texas Tech. Here comes Brackens with a late charge to get that automatic spot, followed closely by Bryce Tucker of Rutgers out there in lane 8. But it was all Nathaniel Ezekiel and a new collegiate leader of 47.86 in his semi when he really had no reason to actually do it. But that sends quite the message.
Well, and it looked like he's just toying with them out there. What was interesting is it looked to me like right at this hurdle here, this is the 7th hurdle, look at Nathaniel Ezekiel, just kind of stand up and slow down. But then I think he almost recorrected himself and said, no, you know what, I got a really good rhythm going. I'm just gonna finish this race. And you see him take that 9th hurdle with his off leg and continue to charge to the line. He certainly could have slowed down, but when you're in a good rhythm, when you're in that runner's rhythm, you might as well stay right there. And he absolutely did, ran it all the way to the line for a really quick time.
That's the first sub-48-second semifinal at this meet in history. And it's a long history, as John mentioned at the top of the show, 103 years worth. So Nathaniel Ezekiel making a statement in this semifinal with a collegiate leading 47.86. Johnny Brackens does get that spot in second place, even with the same time as Bryce Tucker of Rutgers. All right, over to Dan for some more decathlon and the high jump.
All right, an easy transition. They're throwing the shot put to the left. They turn around and they come jump from the right side. Here's Tilstein for the Nebraska, the junior. His third attempt at 6'4 3/4. He made 6'3 1/2, but he is disappointed at that. He's a much better high jumper than that. Here's Peyton Baird, your leader after the shot put. And it's not pretty, but on a third attempt, he would get over 6 feet 7 inches. And you gotta love those third attempts. But the athlete's beginning to feel fatigue here late in the day. Here's Brad Thomas, the senior from UCSB. Told you he was an outstanding long jumper, good high jumper as well. On his third attempt, he'd get over 6'7". Every time you make a bar in the high jump, it's approximately 35 points. But the elder one, Mr. Enthusiasm, Marcus Weaver, he comes into picture. Big shot put, follows it up here with a really solid high jump. That's a first attempt over 6'9 1/2. And he continues to move up through the ranks here in the decathlon.
All right, heat number 2 of these 400 hurdles on the track. Here is Cody Blackwood of Texas, son of Michael Blackwood, a very famous runner from Jamaica who won an Olympic silver medal in the 4x4 relay for his country.
And Cody Blackwood really struggled with injuries last season. Gets healthy, is running some of the best hurdle races of his collegiate career. He's been under 49 seconds. Kind of funny, mentioned at the SEC meet, but both his parents, both track and field athletes for Oklahoma, such Oklahoma fans, they say they will wear the Texas colors, but they will not wear anything that says Texas. That's how much of a rivalry they continue to have. Here's Bryce McCray of Texas A&M, the senior. He's been to this level a couple of different times. He'd love to get a breakthrough, make it into the finals. His father, Danny McCray, great 400-meter runner between 1992 and 96. He was a big football at Texas A&M, but great sprinter as well. Was on that 2000 Olympic team. Represented the United States in the 4x4 relay.
So Cody Blackwood in lane number 6 and Bryce McCray down in lane number 4.
The SEC champion Saad Hinty goes in lane 7 for Tennessee. He's been under 49 seconds this season.
The bubble is 50.56 after that first heat. Last year it took 49.93 to make it into the final. And even with that noise in the background, they're able to get off cleanly. Cody Blackwood out early, as is Sad Hinty of Tennessee. Hinty is leading coming into the 5th hurdle. It's Hinty, Blackwood, and McRae.
Well, Hinty clobbered that 6th hurdle. He's clean over the 7th, and he came onto our radar at the SEC Championships. But 23 years old, he's just a freshman, and here he is leading the semifinals in an NCAA championship.
Blackwood and Hinty, those are your 2 automatic qualifiers. With McRae digging for the line to see if he can record a time that will advance him to the final. But it is Saad Hinty, the freshman from Tennessee and Morocco, a Moroccan national record holder and the SEC hurdles champ, who wins the heat and automatically qualifies through to the final.
Well, that was the same exact finish we saw at the SEC Championship, but take a look at that 6th hurdle. Saad Hinty, he is going to have a big bruise on that left leg. He's lucky he didn't drag it around the hurdle and get disqualified. But there you see the Moroccan record holder on the outside. Stutter step there, and Cody Blackwood made a little bit of a move, but Hinty just stronger, was able to re-accelerate. One of the hardest things to do here in the 400-meter hurdles is to slow down, make an adjustment, and then re-accelerate, because you are absolutely so tired over the last 60, 70 meters. But 2 solid runs to get through automatically.
Saad Hinty winning it in 49.07 with Blackwood just 200ths of a second back. McRae breaks 50 seconds with the bubble at 50.18, but he has to endure 1 more heat to see if that time will hold up and advance. So after a false start in the 110-meter hurdles, JQ, Jaqueline Scott of Texas A&M, the senior, now gets a chance to advance through to the final in his 2nd hurdle event, the 400-meter hurdles. He will start out of lane number 7. The start obviously not as critical in this event. It is in the 110 event.
Well, JQ needs to find his rhythm early. He needs to get into his step pattern over those first 3 hurdles and get really comfortable with it. Seen him run some really solid 400-meter hurdle races, and then I've seen him just blow up after 5 hurdles, just really get out of his pattern. But when he is on, he is absolutely on. But I'll tell you, Dwight, to go back to the 110-meter hurdles, that whole heat was just an absolute mess. It really was, and people out of sync, and you know, we got a couple of false starts, a couple ejections from that particular heat. You don't like to see that here at a championships. But the true measure of an athlete, when they false start, can they come back? Can they readjust? And JQ, I got a chance to say hi to him as he walked in the building today, and looked like his head was on straight. I think he will adjust. There's Oscar Edlund from Texas Tech, and we haven't said much about Texas Tech, but they've been having some really good performances today.
It's all about getting your people through on semifinal day, and we've seen a lot of favored athletes not making it through to the final, which opens up opportunities for others if they're prepared to make the move. You know, it's like Jimmy Valvano said, you've got to put yourself in position to win, and that's what semifinals are about. Once you're in the final, anything can happen.
Tough place to live, though, for Oscar Edlund there in the Big 12 with Nathaniel Ezekiel. You're probably seeing that guy week in, week out at the Texas Relays, the Texas Tech Invitational, you know, the Michael Johnson Invitational. It's like, wow, that guy's going to beat you up week after week. But Edlund has been under 49 seconds this season. And then we get a chance to see the senior from Howard, Noah Langford, number 2 qualifier out of the East region.
Coached by a pretty good hurdler in his own right, David Oliver, former American record holder in the 110s. So JQ in 7, back from his DQ in the 110s. Edlund in 5 and Langford in 6. A long hold of the gun there, mixing it up. JQ out well. And really pushing it down the backstretch so far in his rhythm, going 13. The right leg lead. Still on pattern, and so far no stutter stepping. He looks solid so far. Edlund is there as well in the middle of the track, as is Langford.
Well, another 13 there for JQ, and then he goes to 15. Got to shorten up those strides a little bit, but he's staying on a right leg lead, but nice adjustment there. But JQ just shows you how strong he is, and a nice alternate there over the 10th hurdle. And just like we called it on the onset, JQ followed closely by Oscar Edlund.
Those are your 2 automatic qualifiers, with Noah Langford digging hard for the finish line. The bubble was 50.18 going in to that, and Langford runs 50.24. He will not advance on time. Only Scott and Edlund will advance from semifinal number 3 into Friday's final.
Well, JQ looked really solid. You saw him just on his 13 on that back straight around the corner, 200 meters, about 280 meters into this race. He was still on his 13, even if he had to reach a little bit. But what makes him such an effective 400-meter hurdler is he does have a long stride, and he has great hurdle mechanics. When you're a 110-meter hurdler, he goes over a little bit sideways because he switched to 15 and got a little bit close there. But when you're 110-meter hurdlers, you've already got great hurdle mechanics. You bring that over to the 400 meters, and you're able to get over these 36-inch hurdles a lot better. That's a nice alternate there for JQ. He's going to need to be able to alternate like that down the stretch in the final.
So he went 13 for 7, 15 for 2, and then 14. I'm not sure that's a great pattern, but it was enough to get him through to Friday's final. But Ezekiel looks like the class of the field by a long way with that collegiate leader in that first semifinal. Okay, we're done with the hurdles, but we're back with more speed. It's the men's 200-meter semifinals next. All right, we're back at the 2025 NCAA Track and Field Championships. Field, half the name, 42% of the events. You can watch them live streaming on ESPN Plus. Every throw, every jump. You can keep up with what's going on and know just about the same time we do what's exactly happening in the race for the team title, with these very important field events taking place simultaneously with the track events as we get ready to go back to the track. The furlong, the 200, it's next. 3 semifinal heats. Walter Dix still the collegiate record holder. Divine Oduduru has the meet record. And T. Mars McCallum with the collegiate leader this year. Same configuration, top 2 finishers automatically qualifying through. And the next 3 fastest times as we look at Garrett Kalund from Southern Cal. He'll be in lane number 6. He's a transfer from Nebraska. And then inside him, there's Maka, Carly Makarau of Kentucky and Zimbabwe, 6th in the final in Paris in this event.
And we really didn't get a chance to see him outdoors until that SEC championships, and it was a couple of rust-busting races for him, certainly at the SEC meet, but he would be off and running in his outdoor season, even though it was late. There we get a chance to see Jelani Watkins closest to us here in lane 9. He is having a heck of a meet. He's already qualified in the 100 meters. But Garrett Kalund from USC, slight injuries late in the season, and Coach Q kept him out of the dual meet with UCLA and then did not risk running him at the Big Ten Championship so that he would be prepared for the first round regional meet and here at the NCAA Championships.
And in those West prelims, he set his lifetime best of 1985. So Quincy Watts, the coach at USC, a smart decision by him. Kalund is number 8 on the all-time collegiate list in this event, tied with Christian Coleman. Away cleanly. Here comes Maka in the all-black of Kentucky. And we've got a pull-up It looks like Jamarian Stubbs is out. It's Maka in lane number 5. Now here comes Kaland. Kaland now into the lead. Jelani Watkins making a move on the outside, but it's going to be Garrett Kaland winning the heat, with Carly Makarawu getting the second automatic qualifying spot. 20.01 for Kaland, the winner of heat number 1. All right, quickly before we go to heat number 2, let's go over to Dan with a field update.
All right, well, things are happening on the east side. Good crowd over there for the men's pole vault. This is Bradley Gelmet, the senior from Arkansas State. They certainly know how to vault well at Arkansas State, been doing it for years. His first attempt, 18-1 3/4. Easy make for him. He was second last year at these championships, 4-time Sun Belt. Here's Sasha Solovev, the junior from Texas A&M, in his first attempt. Wow, would be an absolute boomer as well. So that bar's moving up quickly. Here's Cody Johnson. We showed his crash into the box early on. Here's the first attempt for Cody Johnston. And what a great recovery for him to come back from an accident like that. And say in the vault, man, you to get over it, you've got to get back on the horse. And here is Simon Gatorpson on his first attempt. And he would be over that easy as well. But as much as the pole vault was taking place, some interesting happenings over here in the men's long jump. This is J.C. Stevenson, the USC junior, third attempt. The defending champion. He had 2 fouls going into the third jump here into the prelims. And he would go 25, 5 1/4 and finish 12th after 3 and not make the final. So tragedy for USC.
Yeah, that is a big loss for USC as we get at the results of that first heat, with Garrett Kaland of USC winning it over Maka. They automatically advance. Jelani Watkins at 20:31. That's what it took to go into the final last year as we get ready now for heat number 2, which features T-Mars McCallum, who looked great in the 100 meters, running 10:03. He'll be in lane number 6, along with Abdul Rashid Samanu of South Florida out in lane number 8. He is the top returner, having finished 3rd here last year. And then Jaden Reed of LSU, like his teammate Jelani Watkins. There's T-Mars, like his teammate Jelani Watkins, also out in lane number 9. So 2 LSU sprinters in a row out in lane number 9. But there's T-Mars, who looked really easy and relaxed in winning his 100-meter heat earlier. McCallum out of the blocks well early and really working the turn hard. He's made up the stagger on Xavier Butler of Texas to his outside. It is T-Mars and Saminu. Now here comes Butler back. McCallum's going to win the heat, with Xavier Butler, the sophomore from Texas, finishing 2nd in his NCAA debut. So 20:03 for McCallum. He wins his 100 heat, he wins his 200 heat, and advances easily in both to Friday's final.
Well, Dwight, I got to tell you, this is just a different runner than what we saw at the SEC championships. And Coach Dwayne Ross said he just thought some of the kids at the SEC championships, they just put too much pressure on themselves, tighten up. But here's how you run the 200 meters. You got to push the first 80 meters. Get out there, establish your tempo. Then you come off that turn. I don't know if there's a slingshot. You know, athletes will tell you certainly. Come off that turn and stand up and give it tempo to the finish. Nice turnover there by T-Mars McCallum. Nice return there by Xavier Butler. He moved there down that home straight, but look at the relaxation in T-Mars' face, shoulders, and neck. And I gotta thank Tennessee for wearing those armbands, because when you wear those armbands, you stand out. We can find you in a crowd.
Ain't that the truth? Here are the official results. McCallum wins the heat, with Xavier Butler also automatically qualifying. Saminu and Reed both the very good times that most likely will advance, but there's still one heat remaining. So while we have a second, let's step over and let's talk to you about the Capital One Cup standings. Let's take a look at those standings as teams compete for a combined $500,000 in student-athlete scholarships from Capital One. Ohio State in a big lead on the men's side over Penn State and Florida. And on the women's side, it's a little closer between North Carolina and Stanford. This is taking into consideration all the sports contested at those schools. Ready now for the third and final heat in these 200 meters. There is Maka Nikasha Sharamba of Zimbabwe and Auburn, the senior. He's 8th at the Paris 200-meter final, so he has Olympic experience. As we go down to his inside, lane number 5, Jordan Anthony, who qualified barely in the 100 meters. He prefers the 200 meters, but he'll have to fight hard to get through in this semifinal. He'll be in lane number 5, 3 times an SEC champion. And then next to him from South Florida, Jaleel Kroll, who did not qualify through in the 100 meters, but has a sub-20-second lifetime best here at the 200. He is the 2-time British Virgin Islands champion in this event.
Well, the 200 meters better suited for Jaleel Kroll. He's a better 200-meter runner. He is the school record holder at South Florida, better than Abdul Rashid Saminu even. This is his event. Jordan Anthony has got qualified through in the 100 meters. Has not really looked fantastic today. Certainly over the last month, we've seen him run a little bit better, but I think he surprised everybody at the SEC Championships, running a phenomenal 200 meters, beating Maka Chiramba. That was a little bit of a surprise, and he said going into that 200 meters, he felt like people weren't with him. He's a 60-meter guy, he's a 100-meter guy, but you can't run 200, and he said, I'm going to get it done, and he certainly did get it done. Shocked the world.
Third and final heat in these 200 meters. Jordan Anthony coming up on Maka. Max Thomas running well out in lane 7, but there's Anthony coming with a home stretch, but he is going to get plenty of chase from Maka and from Max Thomas, and it's going to be very close to that second spot. Maka wins it, but very close for that second automatic spot between Max Thomas of Southern Cal and Jordan Anthony of Arkansas. 1994 for Maka, just 0.02 of a second off his lifetime best, with just about a meter per second of wind at his back, about 2.5 miles per hour. Let's see if we can separate these two for that second spot. It's Maka gonna win it, and Jordan Anthony is gonna get second. Yes, 20.01 for that automatic spot, with Max Thomas just 100th of a second back, and that's certainly fast enough to advance Max Thomas into that 200-meter final. So he is in both the sprint finals. Chiramba and Anthony automatically threw out of that last one. Kalen at 20.01. You had to run 20.26 this year. It was 20.31 last year. So USC gets 2 of their sprinters through in the 200. They've done well, except for their long jumper, who failed to qualify, will score no points. All right, the sprinting is done. Next on the track, the Decathlon 400 meters when we return to Eugene. All right, after 4 events in the 10-event Decathlon, here are the standings. Peyton Bear of Mississippi State with a healthy 141-point lead over Till Steinforth, who had a disastrous high jump. And Marcus Weaver of Arkansas has been slowly but surely working his way back up the leaderboard and is just 27 points out of second place. We've already had 1 section of 3 in the 400 meters.
And there we get a chance, sorry Dwight, we get a chance to see that's Tatum Klein of Kansas there on the outside, bringing home this first heat. Grant Levesque also in that heat, who currently sits in 7th, but Klein would finish a heat winner there, 48.51. And there are moments, Dwight, when I wish I was still out there competing. This is not one of them.
I was just going to say, but today is not one of them.
Well, this event is certainly not one of them. The 400 meters I mean, I was not a bad 400-meter runner, a pretty good 400-meter runner, but it's been a long day. You know, you put the 400 meters after day one. There you see Peyton Bear, who is an outstanding 400-meter runner, outstanding sprinter. When you're a good 100-meter runner, you should be a good 400-meter runner. But yeah, you're starting to feel the fatigue of the entire day, all the long jump run-throughs, all the high jumps you took, certainly. And it's not so much that it was a lot of work on the track as it was the time spent on the track. It's the accumulation of hours out there in the sun, and there you see Peyton Bear. He's got a little red on those shoulders, a little red on that forehead, certainly, from being in the sun, and that's what probably can wear you out the most. But he is your leader, certainly, and he needs to gain some points here because he has some events tomorrow that are not great. So he'd love to go into the locker room tonight with a little bit bigger lead than he currently has.
And on paper, he has the fastest 400-meter time in the field, not just this heat, in the entire field of 24 decathletes. So he needs to take advantage of that, and the fact that there's really no wind to speak of as we look at Till Steinforth, who is 141 points back and probably shouldn't be that far back except for a really subpar performance in the high jump, which is aggravating because it's not so demanding, the high jump. It's just technically difficult if you don't have your steps right, you don't have your height in the right place. You can have all the hops in the world in your legs, but if you're not doing it at the right spot, and he was not doing it at the right spot in the high jump today.
Well, he jumped much better at the Drake relays when he scored his all-time personal best, but he'll be trying to make up some points here now the rest of the way. And that's what's interesting about the decathlon. The heptathlon goes through pretty quick, but the decathlon, it seems like there's always another event. There's always another event to get a few points back here.
A couple of open lanes here. Max Forte of Duke not reporting in lane 5, and Edgar Compre of Miami and Portugal not reporting in lane 9. So Peyton Bear has 2 athletes to his outside that he can at least be accompanied by for the first 100 meters or so, and then he'll be on his own. He has a lifetime best in this event of 46.08. Remember, he ran 10:25 in the 100 meters, the first event, to set an NCAA or collegiate decathlon 100-meter record.
Well, Peyton Bear's in a good position because Ben Barton of BYU, they're in the blue uniform, just ahead of him on the left, has an almost comparable personal best, so he's going to go out a little quick. Here you see Peyton Bear now try to make up that stagger, and now he's got to go to work with 200 meters to go.
Bear now in the lead. It's all by himself. He doesn't want to see any of these competitors until after the finish line. At Steinforth, who retires out there, looks like he might have had some type of a leg problem, but it is Peyton Bear lifting up the finishing straight for every 100th of a second, being chased by Ben Barton of BYU, and Bear is going to score a lifetime best of 46.01. So with Steinforth out of it, not finishing this event, that is going to make for a huge first day lead for Peyton Bear as he scores a collegiate best in the 400 of 46 flat. And there is Till Steinforth, who got a cramp, hopefully only, out there in the middle of the far turn. That's going to be big, big points for the Mississippi State junior in this 5th and final event of day 1.
Well, it's always tough when you're the best 400-meter runner in the group. It is always tough because you know you're going to have to run that last part by yourself. But Peyton Bear, we've seen him on a couple of occasions this year run the 4x4 with the Mississippi State Bulldog team. And here he's just getting it done. And it looks like he just about 5 strides out, stood up just a little bit. He needed to continue to drive to the line, but 46.01 could have really easily been a 45.99, but you know, you feel a little better. The 400 meters doesn't hurt quite as much when you cross the line and see a personal best. But it's so fun for these decathletes, and I think there you see Steinforth on the far right there go down. Looks like he just got a bad cramp. Even as the athletes were finishing the race, he continued to look like he couldn't stand because that hamstring was cramped up. They're still attending to him over there, but I think maybe the most nerve-wracking thing for these decathletes is they get to compete throughout the day under crowds that aren't that big, and then all of a sudden you step to the line in the 400 meters and probably the crowd is as big as it's been all day long, and you're doing an event that you know is going to really hurt. It's not your best event, and you're laying it on the line out there, but it can also produce some really great results.
Both Bear and Barton scoring lifetime bests. 46 flat for Bear, 46.59 for Barton. And Bear is going to have a gigantic lead after day one with Steinforth out of it. All right, well, while we sort this out, let's go over to Dan for a little bit of shot put.
All right, love the three-ring circus of track and field, all your field events on the inside. This is Jason Swarens, the senior from Wisconsin, second attempt. He would put out a really good throw. Get this competition started early. He goes 66 feet 2¼ inches. Christopher Lisiana, the senior from South Carolina. Old style glide technique, gotta love that. That's a third attempt for him, 65.11¾ I think all eyes would be on this man, Tarek Robinson O'Hagan. He's won this contest a few different times. We just saw him, he was third in the hammer, trying to come over and win the shot put another time. 66.8¾ The shot putters are through 4 rounds now, and Tarek Robinson O'Hagan is your leader.
And Steinforth goes off the track in a wheelchair. Hopefully it's just a cramp and not an injury, but his decathlon is over. By the way, Peyton Bear's 46 flat performance, 5th fastest ever world. Marcus Weaver, who has slowly but surely put himself back into contention with some excellent performances in the shot put and high jump, but he is not a great 400-meter runner. He is one of the slowest, in fact, on paper, the slowest in the field. Now would be a good time for a breakthrough.
No, I was going to say, and look at the intensity. You know, he cracked a smile there, and you got to love the stash, right? The mustache there is absolutely beautiful with the shaved head and the sunglasses.
Perfect 10 on style points all around right here.
Absolute style.
But he runs with a passion, he runs with intensity, and he has really been the heart of the combined events at the University of Arkansas for the last few seasons. And it's going to be sad to see him go, certainly, but there he is down there in lane 2. He's on the move, currently sits in third. He was in third position before these 400 meters started. Great shot put, great high jump. Let's keep the momentum going. Got a personal best of 50.46. Can he crack that tonight?
Plus he now knows that the guy right in front of him in second place is out of the competition. Has the whole field in this third and final section laid out in front of him. He's got to pace himself. He wants to leave something for that finishing straight. So he's got to be disciplined early. Kenneth Bird, who has run, Emil Ullin, who has run 49.05, is out fast for K-State, out there in lane 8. And Nick Bianco, who has a 48.82 lifetime best for Colorado. He's also moving well.
Here comes Marcus Weaver now on the inside in lane 2, beginning to put a little bit of tempo together. See if he can finish.
It's Ullin in 8, Mooney of Connecticut in 4. Marcus Weaver really starting to hurt. We'll be able to see what his time was once they post the results. Emil Ullin of Kansas State winning the heat, 48.85. That's a lifetime best for him.
That celebration really says it all, right?
Yeah.
The relief of being done, first and foremost, at least with day one, and then being rewarded with that type of a race, that type of a career best performance.
So we're waiting for Weaver's time. He's run 50.46. He was close, 50.60. So he didn't leave anything on the table. And we'll see how that time relates to points and where that puts him on the leaderboard after the conclusion of this 5th event. So they're done for the day. Rehydrate, get some massage, try to get a little bit of food and a lot of rest.
And Marcus Weaver, you got a big cheering section that followed him all the way to Eugene here, but we'll see if we get a panel up, but it's Peyton Bear who will leave, but Marcus Weaver will leave day one. There's Team Weaver up there in the stands. They were going crazy during the shot put in the high jump, but Marcus Weaver is in 5th position at the end of day one, just over 4,000 points, and he's got a lot of work to do tomorrow.
So we will get all those points together as we see Peyton Bear running the 5th fastest decathlon 400 in history and a big lead after day one in the decathlon. Here are the point standings after the first 5 events of the decathlon. End of day one, Peyton Bear of Mississippi State off the strength of a collegiate 400-meter and 100-meter decathlon records has a 287-point lead over Brad Thomas. Marcus Weaver of Arkansas has been moving his way up on the leaderboard, is 5th, just 102 points out of 2nd place. As we get ready for our only track final of the day, the 10,000 meters, Ishmael Kipkurui is the collegiate record holder from this year. Patrick Deaver, the meet record holder, and collegiate leader, obviously the collegiate record holder. There's Hampton Samuel of New Mexico. New Mexico Lobos team title chances of resting heavily on his and his teammates' shoulder in this final.
The defending champion in this event, also the NCAA cross-country runner-up from this fall, last year en route to winning the 10,000 meter title, actually took a fall a few laps close to the finish, had to get back up and fight his way back to the lead pack to get the victory. So no stranger to battling through adversity in championship races.
There are the 24 qualifiers to this championship, 12 from the East prelim and 12 from the West prelim. It's the case in every one of the events, all the field events. And their list of competitors are on the screen. 25 laps of this track. And there are a million scenarios on what can happen in this race, but what we're focused on largely is New Mexico in a position to make a legitimate run at the team title by the end of Friday, or are they not? And it rests largely on the shoulders of their 2 10,000 meter runners. If they go 1-2, they are in it.
That is exactly what you need from this race. Both expected to also come back and run the 5,000, as many of these athletes will over the course of these championships. So likely that this stays a bit tactical, at least for the athletes from New Mexico who have run so fast and have showcased such great foot speed. In talking to their coach, Darren Gosson, he does want them to be very patient and sit back through the first 4,000 meters or so and kind of just feel how this race plays out, get a good read on those around them. You know, it's often that you do see this be a little bit more tactical versus honest as they go through in 67.7. That's Ethan Coleman from Notre Dame doing lead duties to this point of the race.
He's followed by David Malarkey of Northern Arizona and by Timothy Chessenden of Arkansas.
And you talk about the team implications. That's another factor. Arkansas looking for big points. They did a great job in qualifying in the 800. This is an area also that could help bolster them going into the final men's day on Friday. As you're looking at, you know, this field, of course, like Ishmael Kipkurui, he is the freshman phenom. Trying to get a position on where he is. He's kind of on the left-hand side of your screen. He's right next to Victor Kiprop of Alabama. Victor Kiprop was the runner-up in this meet last year to Hampton Samuel. So experienced in these racing situations. This is Victor Kiprop's 4th appearance in the 10,000 at the NCAA outdoor meet, finishing as high as 2nd place last season.
So mentioning Victor Kiprop, Alabama running with heavy hearts here at these NCAA championships, for the news coming across this morning of the untimely death of their former teammate. And with more on that, let's go downstairs to our host, John Anderson.
Yeah, Dwight, truly just sad and devastating news hitting this meet today. There you see him. Eliud Kipsang, University of Alabama, announced his death. He died Tuesday night. They announced it today. Just a great runner, yes, but really a delightful young man, 28 years old, held the collegiate record at 1,500 for a time, had some spotty performances, but was always an excellent guy, just a delightful person to be around, always smiled, whether he was an All-American or helping to win SEC championships. Just somebody that was really loved on this team. He kind of had his running buddies along with Victor Kiprop, who's in this race, Hillary Chariot, Vincent Kiprop, who ran at Alabama previously, kind of brought him along. And in the number of times I talked to him, 15, 20 times, he was most proud at the end. He said, I was the first guy in my family to earn a degree. And he was super, super proud of that, even more so than his collegiate record. There are 46 Kenyans at this meet. There's 1,000 athletes, 46 of them are Kenyans. And usually when you talk to them, they say, our family's here. And when they talk about it, it's not mom, dad, it's the other runners that are here from that East African country. Truly beloved fella. Sad to see him go. A lot of people shocked. Again, 28 years old. He died. He was in the hospital in Tacoma, Washington. And Dan Waters, who coached him here at Alabama, the best final word. He said, the running community has lost a remarkable soul. That's true. That's the story, and that's the man I know. Dwight, Lara, Dan?
All right, John, thank you for that. It's always sad news to lose any athletes, especially those that are as young.
John,
as we look at Victor Kiprop, there are 3 athletes from Alabama in this 10,000 meter final.
As John said, truly not just such a special talent on the track, but such a special person. That's what so much of his teammates have said since receiving this news, was that he really motivated the rest of his teammate to be great, just inspired them with his work ethic, the amount of sacrifice that he makes. Certainly Kiprop, one of those who was inspired by Eliud Kipsang and the standard that he set. And then everyone just said it was that infectious smile, his personality, and his kindness that they will remember just as much as his influence on the track.
All right, well, it's established the pace pretty well. They're running just under 30-minute pace. And with coming up about 20 laps remaining, we will step aside. Much more of the coverage of this 10,000 meters when we return for more of our coverage of the 2025 NCAA Track and Field Championships. All right, back to the 10,000 meters with 18 laps remaining. It is still Ethan Coleman of Notre Dame, and running around 77, 78 second laps, so just under 31-minute pace. So let's step aside and get an update from Dan on the long jump.
Well, the long jumpers have had great conditions, nice light tailwinds all evening long. And this is Malcolm Clemens, the senior from Florida, taking advantage of these conditions. He made the Olympic team last year, 3-time NCAA scorer, and on a first attempt, he would blast one and set the tone for the rest of the competition. 26.4.5 windy. There you see the W, letting you know that that is windy, but a big jump nonetheless, and he is your leader. This is Blair Asenton, the senior from Oklahoma State. On his first attempt, he would follow Malcolm Clemens' lead and blast one out there. The Big 12 indoor champ puts a really good one on the board, 26.3 1/4, and he would sit in second place. This is Henry Kennan, the senior from Arkansas. Transfer from Pittsburgh State, 3rd at the NCAA Indoor Championships. He would send one out there. He knew it was a good one as soon as he hit the sand, 26.1 1/2. So after 5 rounds of long jumping, Malcolm Clemens is your leader. The Oklahoma State senior Blair Asensen and Henry Kennerly senior from Arkansas sit in second and third position with 1 jump remaining.
All right, back to the 10,000 meters with under 17 laps remaining. And we've had a lead change during the time we gave you that update on the long jump.
That's Dylan Schubert of Furman, who finished third at the NCAA Cross Country Championships in the fall. He's coming off an incredible stretch this outdoor season. He not only won the conference championships at 5K, he also won the NCAA East Regional. And if you think about it, Dwight, if you remember, that race was run around midnight because they had so many weather delays at that East Regional meet. And in talking to those around the Furman program, that third place finish in the fall, that was no surprise to them. They knew what he was capable of doing. I think he was somewhat of a shock maybe to some of the rest of the track and field and cross country audiences, but the coaching staff tells me he's got something special up his sleeve for this championship meet. Certainly, you saw this in the fall. Dylan Schubert knows how to dig deep when it hurts, and he can really close. He got a little anxious. He did not want to sit in this pack because of how pedestrian it was. He's now thrown in a 74 and a 71 second 400 meters to start to break this race open just a little bit and stretch things out with a little bit of movement behind him. So I think that was a really smart move on his part because you were leaving a lot of guys in that race, and certainly Dylan Schubert is one who has the strength and the closing speed to be able to cover any moves that are made behind him.
Now let's update you on the positioning of the 2 New Mexico athletes who are right there in fifth and sixth. No, that's Hulane. That's Bernard Charuyat. But
Ishmael Kipkirui is there on the rail, but Hoptum Samuel is content. He's playing it very conservative in the back of the pack. As we're taking a look at him right now, have this fantastic shot as he is second to last currently, but that's no alarm at this point because of the exceptional strength that he has. Now, that NCAA cross-country runner-up finish from the fall, he lost his spike halfway through that race, had to run the final 5,000 barefoot, finished with a bloody foot because he had been spiked so many times. And if you notice, he's wearing now tall socks. He didn't used to wear socks. Part of the reason he's doing that is because of the stitches that he received after being spiked. One of those was on his Achilles. So he still sometimes feels the friction rubbing on the scar tissue that is there on that left Achilles. So that's one adjustment that he has had to make. He actually had to take about 3 weeks off from running between the end of the cross-country season and the beginning of the indoor season just to recover from some of the injuries he sustained in that fall. Came so close to winning, but was edged out by Harvard's Graham Blanks. So you talk about the fall last year at this championship meet that he took in the 10,000 meters. Here he finishes in cross country with one bare foot, one spike. So certainly no stranger to battling through some of the adversity and the elements that you have to endure in some of these situations. Joked, as I know John Anderson did with his coach Darren Gosson, just if maybe we could just have one non-dramatic Hoptum Samuel, race here in a championship meet.
Well,
but he seems to thrive in those situations.
And though he's near the end of the back of the pack, they're all within 3 seconds of the leader because of that slow early pace, and the pack is still pretty tightly bunched of 24. This far into the race, you're going to be coming up with 13 laps remaining, so almost halfway through this 10,000 meters.
Joey Noakes of BYU currently has made his way up to the front, now taking the lead duties from Dylan Schubert.
And as we come up to the halfway point, let's step aside and get an update from Dan on the shot put.
Well, the end of the shot put was wild. I'll tell you guys, a lot of position changes. This is Tarek Robinson O'Hagan trying to win another shot put championship. The junior from Ole Miss in the 5th round, the defending champion, would go big, 66-11 and a half. He won the SEC Outdoor Championships. But a couple of big-time throws would happen in that same round. This is Thomas Kitchell, the senior from North Carolina. He goes big in the 6th round, 68 feet, a half inch
He was most proud at the end. He said, I was the first guy in my family.
Place on his last throw of the competition, but it wasn't over. This is Jason Swearens, the senior from Wisconsin. On his 6th round, he would go even bigger and come away with this championship. This place was going crazy in the shot put at the end. He was 2nd last year at this championship, 69.8 for the big fella from Wisconsin, and he would wrestle the title away from Tariq Robinson O'Hagan.
All right, we're past the halfway point, 15:21 at 5K. So even though they stepped it up a little bit, they're still not sub 30 in this 10,000 meters. So much more coverage of this 10,000 meter final when we return to Eugene, where the conditions are getting even better.
Well, in the men's pole vault, and then there was one. Alexander Soloviev would stand head and shoulders the rest of the field here at the NCAA championships. This is a 3rd attempt at 5 meters 78, 18 feet 11 and a half. If he makes it, he wins the competition, and that bar stays up for him, and he would come away with the victory. Ashton Bartel of Kansas would pass on his 2 remaining jumps, and then he would take 2 more at 19.1 and a half unsuccessfully. But Alexander Soloviev has now passed 19.1, and it looks like he's going to take some attempts at 19.3 and a half. But Soloviev, your winner in the men's pole vault.
All right, back to the 10,000 meters. We're under 10 laps remaining. That is Bernard Chouria, the freshman from Tulane, who has now picked up the leading duties, and things have gotten progressively quicker. They're now in the 67, 68 area for the last 4 or 5 laps, so the pace definitely moving up. And both New Mexico athletes have moved up to the front, 3rd and 4th.
And you can see there, that was Ernest Chariot of Texas Tech who put a little bit, see, got an arm out right there, getting into the back of Haptum Samuel as they're getting very tightly bunched with Evans Karui moving around and trying to get in position between the 2 New Mexico athletes. So things quickened so rapidly that things just really, this entire race bunched up. Here you can tell the Lobos using some team tactics right here. That's Dylan Schubert of Furman in the all purple, and then Ernest Chariot moving along. And you can see the teammates make a little bit of contact. They're trying to communicate just a little bit. Now have gotten into a bit better of a rhythm, and in talking to Coach Darren Gosson, he wants those 2 athletes from New Mexico, Ishmael Kipkarui and Haptum Samuel, to work together over the latter part of this race. Ishmael Kipkarui has really been a freshman phenom for the program. Came to New Mexico in December because he saw the success that Pamela Kosgei was having. They'd been on teams together and saw her development, knew if he trained alongside Haptum Samuel, he would have the opportunity to establish himself as a world-class distance runner. However, Ishmael Kipkarui was not in great shape when he got on campus, had been somewhat injured, hadn't competed since the World Championships in Budapest, and has just come on incredibly strong this outdoor season. That's the result that you saw with that collegiate record. Now you're seeing those teammates trying to work together. Evans Karui is right there in the mix. Chariot is still finding some traffic there behind him, puts out that left hand to try to block Dylan Schubert from creeping up too much on his inside shoulder. This is shaping up to be a wild last mile and a half, Dwight.
And there's a lot of contact going on there. I'm expecting somebody to go down with the amount of contact that I'm seeing as they are jockeying for position and getting into a place of comfort. You can see a lot of the athletes moving out into lane 2 to have room to run. We're coming up with only 6 laps remaining. We'll step aside for the last time and bring you the conclusion of this exciting 10,000 meters. Can the Lobos go 1-2 and bolster their team hopes? Back in Eugene for more of our coverage of the NCAA Championships. Dwight Stones along with Laura Overton. Less than 4 laps remaining in this 10,000 meter final. David Malarkey of Northern Arizona in on the rail, and now here comes the defending champion, Abton Samuel spent most of the race way back in the back of the pack, but now it's time to get serious. He and his teammate Ishmael Kipkurui need to go 1-2 in this race to keep New Mexico's team title chances alive. 3 laps remaining now, but there are lots of other runners in this race. The early slow pace has kept most of this 24-man field in contention.
And this has been a feisty race to this point. You can see just how physical it has been. When you're talking about team tactics too, you mentioned David Malarkey. He has Drew Bosley, the NAU tandem right there up front in the top 5 athletes to this point. Hampton Samuel has steadily moved up to the front of this pack, been incredibly patient in navigating his way up to the front. Has his teammate right there, currently sitting in about 5th position. Easy to identify, that turquoise of New Mexico. Evans Karui from Washington State, you see him with the glasses on, currently in 3rd. He is one that a lot of people said could be the wild card. He's kind of looking to disrupt some of that New Mexico dominance, but he has shown that he can be a bit erratic in racing situations as Dismas Lokira of Alabama surges to the front with 2 laps to go. Who's gonna cover the move? This is the point where you cannot afford to lack reaction. You can't afford to wait for that next opportunity.
Ernest Churriot of Texas Tech is also right there in 2nd place. So plenty of racing left to go with just over a lap and a half remaining. Kira, Churriot, Karui, Samuel, Kipkurui, and now here Dylan Schubert back into the mix. Both NAU guys in the mix. It's going to be a wild last 600 meters.
This is where Hampton Samuel needs to respond. As his teammate makes a move, he's got to go with him. You've got to immediately react. And there he does. Bounces out to the outside as they come up to the straightaway.
Less than 500 meters to go, coming up to the bell. Evans Karui with the sunglasses on. In the lead with a lap to go. Now Churriot of Texas Tech. Kipkurui, Schubert, Samuel. Those are the top 5, and then push. And Ernest Churriot of Texas Tech, the sophomore, is in full flight down the backstretch, being chased by Ishmael Kipkurui, the freshman from New Mexico. Hampton Samuel, the defending champion, in 3rd. And Kipkurui is in overdrive, and here comes Samuel. It's going to be 1-2 Lobos with 125 meters to go.
Look at that surge and the distance that Kipkurui has established on the field, including his teammate, who is closing hard.
Kipkurui, the collegiate record holder and the defending champion, his teammate, Hampton Samuel, keep New Mexico in the hunt for the team title by going 1-2. 18 points for the Lobos with a 53.4 last 400 meters for the freshman collegiate record holder.
What a ferocious finish. Everyone was in this race with 3 laps to go. The confidence of the freshman, Ishmael Kipkurui, and then how he's just decisively, when he makes that move and surges, he left no one in reach. Made that move authoritatively, decisively. That's exactly what you needed in order to break out of that pack. Cruises to the victory, brings Hampton Samuel along. 18 points for New Mexico. Hampton Samuel, 1 year ago, was the only athlete they brought to the NCAA championships. Now they have 11, and it's not even so much about the numbers they brought, it's the quantity in the points and the scoring opportunities that they have.
4:10 for the last 1,600 meters, 1:57 for the last half mile. The freshman collegiate record holder wins the 10,000 and brings his defending champion teammate along with him. 4x4's next. Already, Next on the track, 3 heats of the 4x400 meter relays. There are the collegiate and meet records, both set 2 years ago. Florida with a leading time in the South Florida with a leading time in the country this year. There are the lane assignments for heat number 1. Arkansas, Texas Tech, and Princeton with the best times coming in. The top 2 teams across the finish line will automatically qualify through to Friday's final. Then the next 3 fastest times amongst the non-qualifiers, looking for a 9-team final.
Well, it's interesting to see Arkansas in this early heat. They're not seeded by time, certainly. They're not putting all the fast ones in, but there you get a chance to see Arkansas in lane 6. TJ Tomljanovich will lead off for the Razorbacks. They've gone 3:01.82 this season.
Oh, they're bringing them back. Let's hope it's not for a false start.
Well, it looked like I had everybody in my view except for the teams in 2 and 3.
Talking about having some trouble hearing the commands. So it's going to be likely going to be a green card. Yes, he has the green card in his hand. No harm, no foul.
And what's interesting is there are little speakers on the back of these blocks. Well, these blocks are pressure sensitive. You see little speakers on the back of the block, so the athletes can hear the commands much more apparent, certainly, than the fans can.
There you go, nice little shot of exactly what you were referencing, Dan.
Those are not your high school blocks, Dan.
They are certainly not. And they, you know, when you got wires hooked up to blocks, you know you're at a big meet.
There is the lineup for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
And although it was during the indoor season, you know they're coming in with a little added motivation given what happened at the NCAA championship indoor meet in the 4x400 relay and all of the dramatics that followed from that.
Well, and how gracious was Chris Bucknam at the NCAA indoor championships? He wanted a rerun. You know, any coach is going to fight for his team to try to give them the best opportunity to win a national championship, but he calmed everybody down and he said, you know what, we just accept the decision. And it was interesting. I thought that showed a lot about Buck and his squad. And they come back and they win the SEC outdoor championship with, you know, in stylish fashion.
From the inside, Wichita State, North Carolina A&T, then Texas Tech. Middle of the track, Princeton, Arkansas, Georgia. On the outside, Iowa and Duke.
Well, Georgia's going to lead off with Shamar Chambers, and then they're going to go to Will Floyd. Those 2 athletes will finish 11th and 12th in these championships in the open 400 meters. Either one of them will qualify through. So I think we're going to get really good runs, but Georgia always puts together a great 4x4. They were the NCAA indoor champ, but they've never won an outdoor title.
3-turn stagger in this 4x400 relay, so we need to see who passes first to determine who might be in the lead. Very close between Iowa and Duke for that handoff. They'll stay in lanes through this turn, then break for the pole on the backstretch.
Arkansas in great position right now as you do get to that backstretch.
Stephen McElroy for the Razorbacks on second leg. That was a stumble and a nice save from falling down. Iowa in front now. Georgia is now back in 3rd place with Will Floyd. Now Arkansas making a run. McElroy finishing strong, putting his Razorbacks back in the lead. They will hand off first. And for the Hogs, it's Jonah Vigil. For Iowa, Josh Pugh. 45-5 for Stephen McElroy and Arkansas.
Well, that's just great experience by Stephen McElroy. He saved a lot of his energy until the last 100 meters. He was sitting in third position, makes a nice move, puts the Hogs out in front, gives them an opportunity to control this race.
That's Zy Ricks for Georgia on third leg. And for Texas Tech, Oscar Edlund.
Well, and you're looking at the future of Georgia track and field there. Zy Ricks in third position. He's a freshman. He'll pass to Irvin Person, who's also a freshman, and Will Floyd, the sophomore, was your second leg for the Georgia Bulldogs.
On anchor, it's Jaden Smith for Arkansas. For Iowa, Isaac Lewis. And for Georgia, Irvin Pearson, the freshman.
Well, and Iowa's one of those teams, they don't qualify a whole bunch of people in individual events, but they always put together phenomenal relays, especially 4x4 relays, and look at them hanging here with one of the best teams in the country.
Arkansas and Iowa, top two finishers. Teams automatically qualify into Friday's final. And right now it looks like it'll be Arkansas and Iowa. Though Duke's Callum Robinson is making a valiant effort in third, maybe trying to get that one of those time qualifiers. So Arkansas and Iowa safely through to Friday. 45-4 for Jaden Smith on that anchor. 3:02.53 the winning time. So while we have a moment, let's slide over to Dan and update on the javelin.
All right, so our last field event of this first day of competition at the NCAA Championships. Let's finish up with the spear. The javelin, Callan Soltudo, the senior from Missouri. This is his first attempt, and he would get things started right away. His first time at the NCAA Championships, and he'd throw a PB in the first round, 252 feet, 3 inches. He was fifth at the SEC Outdoor Championships. This is DeVoe Desai, the senior from Miami, the collegiate leader. His first attempt would be a bomb as well. He was the ACC Outdoor Champ the last couple of years, undefeated this season, and he would go 268 feet, 2 inches. And here's the transfer from Umpqua Community College. He's familiar with this facility. Michael Cabrera-Gay from Florida, the sophomore. What a pickup for the Gators. In the third round, he would throw a giant, massive throw, 259 feet, 4 inches for a personal best. And he would come away with a second place position, but there is your winner, the senior from Miami, Florida, 268 feet, 2 inches. Florida Gators second, Mizzou in third.
All right, the runners are getting ready for Heat 2, but here are the results from Heat 1. Arkansas and Iowa automatically qualifying through, with Duke, Georgia, and Princeton hoping to get through on time with 2 semifinal heats remaining.
That was a courageous run there by Duke. Callum Robinson, they had a decathlete on that third leg. Michael Bennett, personal best of 47.66. Duke pulling out all the stops here. They got here qualified, but they are showing out very, very well at these championships.
South Florida, the collegiate leaders are in lane 6 in this second heat. Devontae Archer, their leadoff runner. There's Jacob Andrews, who will lead off for the Trojans, who will start in lane number 5. They were 4th at the NCAA indoor, but scored enough points for that finish to win the team title for the first time in 10 years.
USC will go to William Jones on that second leg, who's already qualified for the 400 meters, and then Garrett Kalin, somebody they did not have last couple of regular season meets. He'll anchor for the USC Trojans. He's already qualified in the 200 meters, but it says a lot about the South Florida Bulls coming in here, top qualifier in the 4x1 and the 4x4. Keep an eye on Arizona State as well. They've gone 3:01.85. They did that earlier this season, and it's so hard to look down. It's like, yeah, they are in the Big 12. That's right. Yeah,
Tough to get used to.
Yeah, some of these Pac-12 teams now they're not in the same conference. You know, say Big 10, and you mean about half of them.
There are the lane assignments with USC in 5, South Florida in 6. After heat 1, the bubble is 3:04.97. Last year it took 3:04.48 to qualify through to the final. Shadows have fallen over about 90% of the track at this point.
It's gotten a lot cooler as well, and I think the wind has picked up. Over there on that third turn, start of the 200 meters, the athletes will feel a little wind in their face.
From the inside, Navy, Texas, Ohio State. Then in the middle, Southern Cal, South Florida, Arizona State. And on the outside, Penn State, Baylor.
Well, good start for Jacob Andrews from USC. Also Cody Blackwood, 400-meter hurdle qualifier there. Second from the right there for Texas. He's off to a really good start as well.
Early on at South Florida and USC. Penn State also running well out in lane 8. Here come the Sun Devils. Sun Devils and Penn State with USC closely behind on the first pass. They'll stay in lanes through this turn and then break for the pole on the backstretch. Ohio State trying to get into things as well. That is Nazio John for the Buckeyes. For USC, William Jones. And for the Sun Devils, Malik Franklin.
Well, you can spot William Jones from a long ways off. Very upright running mechanics there as he leads the pack with 100 meters to go. Nice move by USC, though, to put one of their strongest 400-meter runners there in second position to try to get out front, take control of this race, put away some of these teams early.
South Florida has some work to do. Xavier Monfries was their second guy to Corey Oddie, but they got some work to do. They're back in fourth. USC, Ohio State, Arizona State, South Florida. For the Trojans, Jalen Knox. For the Buckeyes, Nick Vega. And for the Sun Devils, Trevin Moyer. Separation by the top two teams, USC and Ohio State making a move. South Florida also trying to get back in this thing. They are the co-collegiate leaders. For them is Corey Oddie.
Whoa, here come the Bulls.
There they are. As SC and Ohio State, their lane is going up. South Florida passes first after being fourth with 200 meters to go, and Penn State into second place. Nittany Lions' Jake Palermo, the freshman, with a great pass. So it's South Florida, Penn State, Ohio State, USC. That's Garrett Kaland for the Trojans, trying to put them in front with 200 meters to go.
Well, for South Florida, it was Gabriel Maranta who ran that third leg. They switched it in the lineup, and Corey Oddie who will run anchor for South Florida now.
Well, they've relinquished the lead that they had. Now you got that one of those top two spots. USC and Garrett Kaland in the lead. Now can South Florida grab that second spot? Nope. Penn State holds them off and gets that second spot. So South Florida has to wait through one more semifinal to see if their third place time from Heat 2 is going to get their team into the final. They ran 3:03.54. That's a second and a half almost under the bubble time, but there is still one heat remaining.
And if there's any question at all on Garrett Kalin's health, that answered it right there. What a run there by Garrett Kalin. Look at him just pull away from the field here. And I love a 200-meter runner that likes to step up and run the 400 meters. Courageous running by Penn State. Wow.
How about that Jake Palermo holding on to second place? With Corey Oddie closing hard for the Bulls of South Florida. Now they have to just sit back and wait and see if they can get in. Penn State gets a school record and an automatic qualifier in second place, but USC wins the heat. South Florida's got to sit back and see if that 3:03.54 holds up. It's almost a second faster than what it took to get through last year, but there's still one heat remaining. And this final heat will feature the Gators of Florida, the co-collegiate leaders in the 4x400. They're winners of this event in 2022 and 23. They will lead off with Ashton Schwartzman and anchor with Raheem Hales.
Well, a couple of 4x4 teams that are just historic for winning 4x4 championships. You got Florida, but this is the other one, Texas A&M. They're going to anchor with Ahmad Robinson, but this is always a team to contend for a national title, not only on the overall team, but certainly for the 4x400 meter relay. Hossam Hatib will lead off for the Aggies. That's Eric Hemphill.
Pat Henry just wanted to keep you on your toes,
yeah,
Dan.
apparently.
But that's just how deep they are with 400 runners, that they have so many different configurations of that quartet that they can put in.
Well, and for people that don't understand it, sometimes you got 5 people, 6 people warming up on the warm-up track, and a coach will take a look, and if he sees doubt or anything in somebody's eyes, he's going to replace you and say, you're in.
Absolutely.
You know, you've got to be confident. And I always tell young athletes, if a coach is looking around for people to run the 4x4, if you want to run at the next level and coach says, hey, who wants to get on this 4x4, you better have your hand up first. Be volunteering to get on this relay squad.
Also, at this point in the season, you can have people who might have been fighting through some sort of injuries or battling through things, and they're going to give it everything they can to warm up, but then they'll say, I don't think I have, especially to be honest, and say, maybe I don't have what you need for this to be able to get you through in advance.
All right, third and final heat. The bubble time is 3:04.15. This heat features Florida, the co-collegiate record holders, or leaders, I should say, and Texas A&M, who are the defending champions. For Florida, they will lead off with Ashton Schwartzman. For Texas A&M, Hossam Hatib. And they will be anchored, the Aggies will, by Ahmad Robinson. From the inside, TCU, Howard, and LSU. Then in the middle, Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M. On the outside, Houston and BYU. Pretty even through the first 200 meters. Florida making a move now.
This last heat has the benefit of a bit less wind, as I'm just looking to the flags over there, certainly more still as they are coming off that turn at the Bowerman Tower.
Eli Haslett for BYU making a move there for the Cougars. And they pass first. 46-3 leadoff for BYU. But LSU now moving to the pole off the turn.
Well, that was a good starting run for Alabama as well. Donald Chawanga Now Peter Diebold goes for Bama, and that's Shaquem McKay for LSU, the junior.
It's LSU, then Houston, Anthony East the third
Florida
for the
fighting
Cougars.
their way into the conversation right now, hard charging in lane 2.
Rios Prude for the Gators, but it is LSU, Houston, BYU as they hand off for the second time. .45.2 for Shaquem McKay of LSU. That's why the Tigers are still in the lead. Gregory Prince on third duties for Houston. Safi Reed, the freshman. And Florida now moving on the outside. That's Malik Smith-Ban moving the Gators into third.
He was smart to slide in just ahead of the turn and get himself in really good position as the Gators are in second place, and here comes Bama.
Samuel Ogazi for the Tide. Just smoothly puts them into the lead. Alabama passes first, BYU, LSU. 45.5 for Samuel Ogazi, who was the leading qualifier in the 400 meters.
And this is Osama El Bushaibi, the 800-meter runner. Great 800-meter talent for Alabama on their anchor leg. Florida fighting to the front.
This is Raheem Hales for Florida. What a strong move there by the Gators. But now Ahmad Robinson from Texas A&M is making a move.
Ahmad Robinson with that head bobbing all over the place. Puts his Aggies in first place. They qualify. Here comes Bama at the wire. Ahmad Robinson, 44.6 for the senior from College Station. Puts his Aggies in front. Defending champions are not going to just give up.
Also, how about Alabama, of course, fighting with a little extra added motivation today, able to do that, run that type of effort. Really incredible performance from them.
Ahmad Robinson just turned to his team and said, I got you, I got you. And he brought him from way back. They were in sixth position with 200 meters to go.
So there are your qualifiers. It took 3:03.69 to get through this year, as opposed to 3:04.48 last year. It's going to be a wild one. The men's title could come down to this final race. Well, that wraps up our first 40 days of coverage from the 2025 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championship. Stay tuned next for Sports Center. Join us tomorrow when the women begin their competition for both team and individual titles. For John Anderson, Dan O'Brien, Laura Overton, and our great statisticians Rich Benoit and Tom Lewis, I'm Dwight Stones. We'll see you tomorrow here in Eugene.